Up and live. As usual, it's gonna take a minute for everyone to tune in. I can see that you guys are already asking when I'm gonna start. I'm starting now. I had to get a couple of things loaded before we could start actually live streaming because I have some cool stuff to show you guys. There we go. Get some better lighting in there. That's not too bad. Anyway, we'll get some more people in the live stream in a second. It's been a little while, so it might be a minute before more people start popping on. Here we go. We got 2 people. Usually what happens is I will organize a live stream. I have everything ready, and then I'll forget one thing, go and fix it. And I'll get like 1 or 2 people in the live stream. Yeah, and then that happens right there. Then it starts to jump up. So for everyone who just jumped on, I was just talking about how that happens. When you start a live stream, it's never like this steady flow. Essentially, you get like 1 or 2 people on there, and then boom, boom, boom. You get like jumps of people on there. So we went from a couple to a dozen or so and a half. So anyway, it'll go up again in a second, and I'm gonna wait until it does to kind of get. Oh, there it goes, just like that. So we got 25 people on there now, which is not bad for the start of a live stream. Even the biggest creators in the world, you look at their live stream numbers, pretty small. So we'll start with this. So a couple of comments coming through. Just the usual hello and hays. Hello to you guys. So we have, well, it's been a while since we did a live stream. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video. Things to explain about all this, but I have an announcement for you guys. So I have actually, I've started working with a new tackle company that you have seen on the channel before. So I am officially now working with Terra Firma Tackle, who you will probably recognize from the videos I've done on giant sturgeon. And if you are on the Patreon, you will recognize them from the videos we've done with the giant, gorgeous mirror carp up in the crystal clear mountain lake in Idaho. I was working with Spencer from Terra Firma Tackle to make those videos, and we are now officially partnering with Terra Firma Tackle, and they sent us a load of gear that you're going to see over the next couple of videos, but I'm going to show them off to you right now, because among the many things that Spencer sent us, a lot of it is his gear that he has been demonstrating for a long time. But I have put a link in the description of this live stream with a specific link to a piece of gear that I designed with Spencer from Terra Firma Tackle. And it is, honestly, I think it is the first actual like offering from a legitimate tackle company that you were going to find of the the modified circle hook rig that I use so often on the show. I'm usually making them myself, but now you can actually buy your own pre-made, designed by me and Spencer. And these are not just circle hooks tied with braid. These are modified circle hooks chosen by me and Spencer. And I have actually given him the exact dimensions that I want in the measurements of the hook gap, the hook size, how it's sharpened, how it's tied, the length of the leader, the weight of the Kevlar braid, the swivel. This is all from in here. And as far as I can tell, and I've been doing this for a while now, I'm the only guy. I'm the only guy out there who's fishing for alligator gar at the level that the top tier guys fish for them with circle hooks. And I just don't know why it hasn't taken off yet. Everyone is so stuck on the J-hook thing. To be fair, J-hooks do work if you can unhook the fish. That's the sticking point. It's very hard. Even if you get a good hookup with a J-hook, it's very hard to unhook the fish. So I have, in the past, very publicly, as far as YouTube alligator gar fishing goes, famously been using modified circle hooks. I have a whole little tutorial on my How to Catch an Alligator Gar video on how to use modified circle hooks. This is not the normal circle hook. It does take a different method to set, but these are designed specifically for big, powerful alligator gar. And these are designed very specifically to match the rig that I made to catch that 8-foot, 2-inch alligator gar. So this is not only something I use all the time. This is something that will catch the largest alligator gar in the world. So yeah, really, really cool. The link is in the description to this live stream that you're on. If you want to check out these pre-made, designed by me rigs, and then put together by Terra Firma Tackle, incredible tackle company with a load of expertise in giant fish. So really happy to announce that we're working with Terra Firma Tackle. Our intention, Spencer's intention through that company has always been to provide the highest level of fishing gear for the biggest, most powerful, or hardest to catch fish in the entire world, and he's a master at it. And what I'm a master at is catching alligator gar with circle hooks. So we're working together to start putting these out on the market for people to shift the manner in which alligator gar are caught and released hook free. So check that out in the link. The link is live. He just sent it to me a few minutes ago. It is live, so I wanted to announce it to you guys. It is Terra Firma Tackle. All that stuff is down below. So let's get to a couple of comments and questions, and I'm going to show you a load of the other stuff he sent me, because he sent me a load of cool stuff. A lot of shark stuff, a lot of carp stuff you guys are going to like. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second, but let's go through some of the comments so I'm not ignoring you guys. Yeah, not too many comments right off the bat, but that's okay. Flama says, hey, Peyton, hello. Spur Bronx says, me and River certified. Is that like will I collab with him? I don't know, maybe. I like River certified. I might be getting him confused with another guy. I cannot remember, but I do think the guy from River certified likes me. I think I got a message from a mutual friend, someone that I know that he also knows, who was like, he likes your stuff. And I like his stuff too, so who knows? That might happen. Blaine McDonald said, did you switch from steel leader to Kevlar? Yes. Quite some time ago, I used to fish with steel leaders. They used to make, the PVC coated steel leaders for gar fishing. A couple of years ago, I switched to Kevlar braid, 500 pound Kevlar braid. Now that is overkill for tensile strength. No fish, in fresh water in the world requires the tensile strength of 500-pound line. However, the thickness of the Kevlar braid, that 500 pound, is for those alligator gar teeth. But yeah, Kevlar braid, absolutely the way to go with alligator gar. Sharks will cut right through it. If you're fishing in saltwater, stick with the steel, maybe PVC coated leaders. But alligator gar fishing, Kevlar is the way to go. I've been doing it for years. And Jeremy Wade has been doing it for decades. Let's see. River Certified is out of Iowa. Yeah, that sounds about right. They have great catfish up there. That's kind of what his deal is. I think it was the guy from River Certified that turned me towards getting the B&M Silvercat Elite rod originally, which is a decent rod. It's not a great rod. Like if we're making like a list, like a tiered list of fishing rods, I would put it above the middle, but I wouldn't put it at the top. But yeah, no, that sounds about right. Sweet Lou says, Spencer from River Certified, ? Yes. If you've seen my sturgeon fishing videos, or if you're on the Patreon and you've seen the giant mirror carp that we caught up in Idaho from a just gorgeous mountain lake, that was with Spencer. That is who I am working with. Terra Firma Tackle, Spencer Wonder, yeah. Top tier fisherman. With an academic background too, so like he actually has the scientific expertise on these fish, and I like that. Having a zoo background myself, I really like his academic background on fish, guiding his technique and purpose in the fishing world, more so than having like a sporting background. Cesar Franco says, yes, 2 different Spencers. Oh, I misread your question. Yeah. So you said Spencer from River Certified. Yes, that is his name. Spencer is from River Certified. I am not working with Spencer from River Certified. I am working with Spencer from Terra Firma Tackle. I misread your question. Yeah, Spencer Wonder from Terra Firma Tackle, not the guy from River Certified, although I do like his stuff. This is a different guy. This Spencer has the academic background and runs Terra Firma Tackle, not Spencer from River Certified. Let's see. How long did it take to design the hook and get it made? Well, I knew exactly what I wanted, so I have it down to an exact proportion. So he asked me for the exact proportions and all that, and I sent it to him down to the fraction of a millimeter, and brand and all that kind of stuff. And then he sent me some back, and I said, okay, these are, we're 80% there. This is what I would change. Then he changed it. He got it exactly where we wanted it. So just because he lives in California and I live in Texas, communicating back and forth over getting these things fixed the way we wanted. Also, his workload is massive with his tackle shop, so it's not like this is the only thing he's doing. It took, maybe a couple of weeks to get it exactly correct, but these are just absolutely beautiful. I love these. Really cool barrel swivel on these. I like these quite a lot. In fact, I would consider this, the swivel that we're using, massive, massive upgrade in terms of power and versatility when it comes to handling big fish from what you would buy in the store to make your own rig. This is, in my opinion, this is one of the biggest upgrades getting these from Spencer's shop as opposed to making your own, watching my stuff and trying to copy. So that's one of the reasons I'm so proud to say that we've got our very first alligator gar modified circle hook rig on the market, because we've got some really fantastic thought and design and tackle going into it. Giggity says, should work for big cats as well. Yes, it should. He actually has a big catfish and sturgeon rig that I'll show you that I like quite a lot. Here we go. This is what we use for sturgeon in Idaho. This is such a cool idea. Let me show you what he's doing. So we have our big river style hook here. And remember, this is for sturgeon and big catfish. This is not made for alligator gar. So we have our big river hook here for sturgeon. Barbs crushed, as they are required to be in many states. Same deal with the Kevlar braid, because sturgeon are soft-mouthed fish. Wire would hurt them. And catfish, of course, are very sensitive. Those barbels are going to pick up all kinds of feels, right? And he's got it shrink wrapped to the hook. So we have a knotless knot right here, a knotless snell knot, if you will, coming down, shrink wrapped to the hook to keep it in line. And the beauty of this is that coil right there, which I believe he's even upgraded since sending me these. So this is actually, I think, one of the older models. Click on that link in the description of this video and you can go to his shop and you can look at the catfish and sturgeon rigs. So what this coil does, and that little T-bar right there, is instead of spending all your time trying to like thread baits on or do that really clunky method of like trying to use the hook to like use it as like a needle to bring the thread back in if you want to hair rig your like meaty baits, because again, remember, certain states and best practices for fishing all around, barbless hook, right? So you can't really use that rig you can't use the hook to thread baits for hair rigs for alligator gar or catfish or sturgeon if you're fishing with barbless hooks. So what he's done is he's made this little wire coil right here, and what you do is you just take your bait and you just screw it right on in, and that little T-bar provides the pressure so it doesn't slide back down. That pressure keeps it in place. And now you've got a beautifully hair-rigged bait, and you can change it out without doing damage to your bait. If you've been sitting it out there for a while and nothing's taken, or you want to switch to another type of bait, you just unscrew it. You don't have to cut lines or anything like that. We caught a load of fantastic sturgeon on that rig right there. Really, really beautiful fish. But yeah, that works really great for big catfish and big sturgeon. I would not recommend using the big river hooks for gar, but the sturgeon and the catfish, man, that works 10 out of 10. Really, really good. All right. Well, let's get a few more of these comments, and I'll show you a few more of the cool stuff, cool things he sent me. Joe Aguilar, hi, brothers. Love the videos, all the good information that comes with them. I appreciate it. I am trying to get one. I'm editing right now, actually. I'm not going to show you the video, but I've got my computer, and we're in the editing process. The reason the videos have been a bit slow lately, guys, is because I've been having car trouble. It's not just that. It's also like mental health issues. I've decided to take some time off. I was actually in the shoe store today, and I put this on my Instagram. I was pulling a shoe off the rack because I bought some new shoes, and they had one of those like spring-loaded wires in it. So I pulled the shoe off the rack because I wanted to look at it, but I didn't know it had that spring-loaded wire. So when I pulled it off and I felt that tension pulling back, in a shoe store with a shoe in my hand, when I felt that tension kind of pull back, I set a hook that wasn't there with a shoe because it's just like it's in there, right? It's just instinctual at this point. So I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? I need some time off. But anyway, we're editing the next video. It's going to be fantastic. Loads of stuff I've never covered before and beautiful fish. But anyway, back to your comment. Yeah, the information. I appreciate that you like the information I put in there. New information going into this that I think is very, very important. Especially now that I've been taking a couple of people on guided trips. Which, by the way, guys, I still have this. What is today? Wednesday. I still have this Friday and Tuesday open. Now, Tuesday will probably be rainy. However, Alex and I, Buffalo Bay Fishing Champs, Alex and I are quite flexible working with people. So I had somebody message me the other day, for example, and he was like, he messaged Alex and Alex talked to me because I'm running these trips through Alex's website because he already has this wealth of knowledge and structure on how to do this, right? That's the part that I lack. Like, I know where the fish are. I know how to catch them. I know how to put people where the fish are. I don't know how to run the website like he does. I can't do the administrative stuff. He's an expert in that. But somebody messaged him, was like, hey, I can't do this day, but I want to do one of these trips. Will wildlife do this other day? And Alex was like, hey, are you free this other day, even though it's not on the list? And I was like, absolutely. So if you guys are looking at the schedule right now and you see, okay, he's got Friday, he's got Tuesday, those days don't really work for me. Is he flexible? Will he do this day instead? Just message Alex. Just message Alex. And we'll work it out because I'm more than willing to be flexible with people because that's how you do good business. Let's see. This is from even if I get the pronunciation of that right, I'm never going to say it right now because I enjoy doing that too much. How has river fishing been for you lately? Are the gar now spawning? Yes, and it has been, well, the bayou fishing has been hot, depending on where you go. Buffalo Bayou, certain stretches of Buffalo Bayou, Alex has been kind of reporting back to me are kind of slow, but the stretches of bayou that I've been fishing on are just gar all over the place. I see them surfacing constantly. They're out there, man. So yeah, no, the gar fishing for me has been good. I haven't been doing enough of it because I've been leading trips for other people recently. So all the time I've been spending going after gar have been on behalf of other people. I'm not fishing. I'm putting other people in position to catch those fish. And I haven't been filming a lot of that because, I don't want people to feel pressured to be on YouTube. The whole idea of a charter is you're paying me. I'm going to make your day an 11 out of 10 day. And I am not for 1 second going to burden you with, do you want to be on my YouTube channel? If you ask me in advance, that's a different story. But I will not pressure any of the guests to do it. That's bad guest service. And then some of the guests had children, and I am very much against putting minors on social media. So I don't do that anyway. But yeah, the fishing has been great in the bayou. The rivers are dramatically flooded right now, which interestingly is both very good for the alligator gar because they actually move with floods. They actually move into the flooded shallows to spawn during this time of year. It's very, very important for them to spawn during floods. So while it is very frustrating for me because it throws all my fishing spots out of whack and it makes access hard and I can't hold baits down and there's junk moving through the water and the water gets muddy, it is very good for the fish. So it's a trade-off, it's like, yeah, it sucks and makes my job hard, but I care for the conservation of these animals. I really do. I mean, conservation is my professional background, not fishing. So I am begrudgingly happy to make the trade. Let's see. Brazos is, Nick C says Brazos is crazy high right now. Where have I been fishing for gar? The inner city areas, the bayous. The Brazos has been up and down all year, which again, really tough for us as fishermen, probably really good for the gar. If for no other reason than the fact that, I say this like the caveat needs to be said. It's good for them for breeding purposes, but it's also good for them because I think it alleviates a lot of pressure from fishermen who, are not going to be as good at catching them in this high water. So that's really good too. All right, Flama says, what other equipment and gear do you see yourself customizing in the future? Fishing rod. Spencer and I are working on a fishing rod specifically for alligator gar, which I've done with another group called Brackish Water Customs, but that was a gift. They gifted me a rod, and I told them hey, I want this to be the specs of the rod, and they gifted me a rod. And what Spencer and I are doing now is we're actually going to build an alligator gar fishing rod that is not some exorbitant, $400 custom rod price, something that is very affordable, something that competes with Denali, competes with B&M Silvercat, elite rods, competes with Big Cat Fever rods. And I'm the one who's putting the specs down on what it's going to be. So it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be the best alligator gar rod out there. There's a few other people with my kind of experience that make them. I think Bubba Bedry actually has a Garzilla rod, is what he calls it. But like they're never in stock. You can never find them. I've read the specs that I can find. He doesn't provide very good specs on his website. That's not to say it's not a good rod, but he doesn't provide a lot of information, which people want. People want info when they want to buy stuff. People want to do their homework when they're going to spend a lot of money on something that to use as a tool. So Spencer and I are building an alligator gar rod, and it's going to be the best one that you can get. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. Let's see. Because that's the thing. A lot of alligator gar rods are basically just catfish rods that people try to make work for alligator gar, and some of them are really good. Like Denali's rods are great. There are things about them I would change. They are not perfect. They are close to it. They really are. But they're not perfect. The rod that Spencer and I are designing, we are going to take those things into account, and we're going to make one that I consider perfect. Let's see. Stop. Gigiti says, shrink the hook for a carp rig. Well, actually, you don't have to do that because Spencer, Terra Firma Tackle, has loads of carp rigs. These are just loose hooks he sent me, which I was using recently. And these are coil feeders. These are like cage feeders, except they're much more versatile. They're lighter. They're spring-loaded, so that doesn't sound like it would make a huge difference, but let me tell you, when this thing gets snagged, when you're fishing and this thing gets pushed up against a rock, instead of having this big ball of metal that is stuck, this spring will come off a snag. So, I mean, there's other good reasons to have that spring action, but that's something I found immediately when I was fishing the bayous with this. I was like, oh my God, this thing doesn't get snagged like my other feeders do. So yeah, Terra Firma Tackle has all kinds of amazing carp rigs. Again, click on that link in the description. It'll take you to my alligator gar rigs, but you can follow it, through to his website to get the other stuff. Carp rigs, sturgeon rigs, shark rigs, which I'll show you in a second. Let's see. Why not on gar? From Terry Hancock. If you're referring to why I said not to use these, because the hook is too large. That's the main reason. Also, the leader is specifically designed for catfish and sturgeon. Alligator gar leaders, when made properly, which we do, you can see it's so much longer, the Kevlar, because when you catch a 8-foot alligator gar, even a 6-footer, their mouth is going to be this long, like a 6-footer's face is this long, an 8-footer's face is that long. Look at that famous picture of me next to like I'm over the top of it, and that's one of the pictures that went viral, like worldwide viral. I've got my arm out on top of his nose, and its jaw comes all the way back to my chest. That is why these alligator gar leaders are so long. And I told Spencer that, and he was like, wow, I gave him the dimensions. He's like, that's really long. And I was like, they have an arsenal of teeth that it stretches out. When they're big, it stretches out as long as your arm. That's going to, go side to side raking over that leader. So you got to have a long leader. The sturgeon and catfish rigs are not that long because they're made for sturgeon and catfish. So that's why I said not to use those for gar. All right, Fama says, I was about to respond to your email from earlier, but I'm not sure what to do. Yeah, well, I'm not either. The rain is going to be pretty bad. I'm brainstorming ideas. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. That's the problem with collabs, by the way. For anyone who's curious, we're talking about collabing because he's got a YouTube channel. I've got a YouTube channel. We were fishing together the other day, and we agreed to film some stuff together. But one of the days on the schedule that we have coming up is just horrific rain. And on days like that, guys, one of the reasons I don't do a lot of collabs is because so many of my videos are last minute decisions, and you just simply can't really do that with people who have their own film schedule. And that worked out for me once by a stroke of luck. I was fishing with Phil from Bites and Strikes, phenomenal fisherman, phenomenal channel. And just on a whim, we were like, you know what? Let's ditch this whole area that we're fishing. Let's just do away with it. This other spot looks good. Let's hit it. And that, made one of the biggest videos of my channel, like almost 5 million views at this point. So like that one moment of improvisation to change our plans worked dramatically for me. And not everyone you collab with either wants to do that or has the freedom to do that, especially when it comes to like weather in advance. So like on the day when you're collabing with someone, yeah, all they got to do is agree, like, this isn't working, let's try this. But the problem is when I know Tuesday is going to be like horrific thunderstorms, I'm not going to know what I'm going to do on Tuesday until like Monday night. And that's what makes it hard to film with other people. But yes, we will figure something out, I hope. Let's see. Terry Hancock says, what temperature does it need to be for gar fishing? I like it to be in the 70s at least. The 70s to the upper 80s are really good. Once it gets into the 90s, they're obviously still going to be biting and active, but a lot of the rumors about them biting the most during the middle of the day when it's the hottest, none of that is true. They're like other fish. They bite when their food is moving. They bite in the morning. They bite in the evening. They're most active in the 70s. I would say mid 70s to upper 80s is the best temperature for them. And once it gets hotter than that, they're going to start conserving energy like any other animal would. Or I shouldn't make such broad sweeping statements. There'll always be someone on the internet typing away on Google being like, what animal likes hot weather? Ha, you're wrong. No, there are exceptions to everything. But the majority of animals, especially vertebrates, when it gets exceptionally hot, they do conserve their energy, and alligator gar are no different. Peyton is a great guide. I appreciate that. Thank you. Studix? Hey, do you ever go bass fishing? Yes. In fact, I have some bass videos planned. It's been a little while, but I actually have been trying to plan a bass fishing video in my head. I almost filmed it today, but I decided to do this instead because I have a project I'm going to start tonight that will go into what I'm going to try to film tomorrow. So I had to postpone the bass fishing. But yeah, I do go bass fishing. I find it to be a nice break from sitting on a river in the horrific heat, getting destroyed by gnats and mosquitoes in the mud for 15 hours. Bass fishing to me, the way I do it, is like when I want to break. Can you get a sneak peek on the rod specs? No. Because honestly, I have them written down, but like we haven't started constructing it yet. So I'm not going to give you a sneak peek. Also, I don't want somebody to steal my idea. Like not you specifically, but like other people. So yeah, no sneak peek, but when we have it, I'm going to show it to you guys, and it's going to be awesome. All right, Daniel Salazar says, how can you tell a big catfish bite versus gar, and do you change the rig to target big cats? I do target the rig to go after big cats. Because I use circle hooks so often, I don't have to change the rig a lot. That's one of the many benefits of going after gar with circle hooks. If you get a catfish on, you're still going to get that hookup. Now, it might be a little bit deeper if you're allowing for the longer run, but you're still going to have a fairly easy time unhooking a big catfish with a circle hook. It's still going to be like on the edges of its mouth, even if it's not right in the corner. As far as how they behave, that depends entirely on their environment. So let's say, for example, in a river, they're going to behave kind of similarly. They go on these big, long runs, and they can go for quite a ways, right? The initial run on a river is very similar in South Texas between big gar and big catfish. The difference that is really notable is in bayous, I think, especially when there's a lot of cover. So what catfish will do is they tend to run to the center of the bayou. They go downwards to the center of the bayou, and they go for cover. That's one of the reasons it's really important to fish an area in multiple types of conditions, because you can see the water levels rise and fall, right? So you can get an idea of where all these snags are. So mentally, even if the water's high, when you're out there, again, you have a run. If it's diving down for a snag, that is probably a catfish. Alligator gar there's exceptions, but they don't typically do that. So if you imagine a river like this, This is one bank, this is the other. The alligator gar tend to run along a parallel line with the bank, typically speaking. Catfish will break off that parallel line and go downwards for the center. That is not always the case, but I find it is very common. And alligator gar will, of course, break a pattern of movement. Catfish tend to go, like they're going. Gar will go, then they'll stop, then they'll change direction, or they'll stop and they'll chew on the bait, then they'll go again. There's a break in the rhythm that is very specific to gar, getting to a point where they feel safe, adjusting the bait in their mouth, then either going again or turning around and coming back the other way. So look for the direction of the run, whether it's along the banks or towards snags, and look for that break in the rhythm. Those are a couple of things. But really, it's all about experience, and it's all about the specific area, because animals behave differently based upon their environment. There is no one, this species will do this species will do that. Different species of animals will shift their behavior based upon where they live. That's why I've been saying this for years, because again, I have that zoo background instead of like a fishing or a YouTube background. But I'm telling people for years, like, I would say, look at fishing from the point of view of a biologist, not the point of view of a sportsman, because you're going to have a better understanding of how these animals behave. That is so much harder to learn than just the technique of casting, setting baits, working lures and things like that. I find that it is so much harder to start with a fishing background and then understand the psychology and behavior of animals on like the level of a zoologist. And I'm not saying that everyone who fishes is ever going to get to that point, but I think if you take the study of zoology and you make that your base instead, and then you learn how to do all the fishing techniques on top, not only are you going to have a better understanding of that animal psychology and behavior as you're fishing, but you are going to have like a love and care for the conservation of those animals more deeply ingrained into the base of what you're doing, rather than trying to achieve the sporting aspect at all costs. And of course, there's exceptions to all of that. There's great sport fishermen out there who are great conservationists. I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying that if I had to pick one over the other, I would pick the conservation focus over the sporting focus 1,000 times out of 1,000. So yeah, approach fishing from the point of view of like the study of zoology more so than the sporting practice. David Henderson. I thought that said Dan Henderson. I was like, oh, Dan Henderson. All right, David Henderson says, what do you do when you don't have the right hook while fishing? This has happened to me a bunch of times. So it depends on what we're going after. So you can catch, let's say, catfish, for example. You can catch catfish on multiple types of hooks. If I have my catfish rig here, if I have my circle hook here, either of these will work. But let's say I don't have those and I've only gone out with carp gear, right? Now, it depends. There's going to be this overlap because at the end of the day, these are the same thing. They're just different sizes and they're shaped slightly different to best be applied to the shape of an animal's mouth and how it eats. But at the end of the day, they are the same thing. So there's going to be some overlap. There's going to be a spectrum. And at a certain point, a hook is going to fall at a certain point on that spectrum where it's like, you know what? I can use this for small fish, but I could probably also use this for some larger fish. Really good thing to look at for that is how they catch Wells catfish in the UK, because they don't use rigs like this. This is a very American catfish rig. The hair rigging part is very European, but the hook itself is very American. And what they'll do in the UK is they will use like really heavy duty carp rigs. They'll use the carp braid leader, just much heavier. They will use carp hooks, just much bigger. They'll get like the biggest version of carp hooks, and they will tackle 4, 5, even 6 foot Wells catfish in the UK with that kind of stuff. So there is a spectrum of what hooks work on which fish. And it depends on where your gear falls in that spectrum, what you can accomplish with it. So yeah, if you're out, on the river and you only have these, and you're like, oh, I really want to catch an alligator gar. It's not going to happen. Definitely not safely. You know, you could probably think of something insane to do, like tie them all together or something. But if you're talking about like realistically, that spectrum where your gear falls on the spectrum makes all the difference. Let's see. Rudolph Hemmett Jr. Been a while, bro. Glad to you doing. Probably glad to see you doing well. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me know if you want to buy a 2017 Jeep Patriot because I'm selling mine. I needed a new car, you guys. Comment down below what I should get. What kind of car? I need something that has preferably four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, or has the option for four-wheel drive, like the Jeep Patriot. You can take it in and out of four-wheel drive. I need something that is elevated. So like, you know, a lot of these cars you'll see, like even Subaru, which is like a brand of car that markets itself for outdoor adventure, they are typically lower to the ground. When you're driving through sand and mud, that can be an issue. The Jeep Patriot is a little bit more elevated. It's not insane, but the gap is, you know, different. So I need a car that has like option of four-wheel drive. I need a car that has that kind of height to it, a little bit of height to it, but not so much that it becomes unstable. I need space in the interior that I can use for both gear and when I go on these long, like Florida road trips and things, like stuff I need to survive on, basically. So I need some good cargo space. And yeah, taking the seats out is an option because that's what I do with my Jeep Patriot. So yeah, comment down below if you guys know some really good vehicles, and more importantly, where I can get a good used one because I'm not paying full price. Terry Hancock says, I mean water temperature. Oh, like what water temperature for the fish? Um, I would say probably the 60s, upper 60s at least. It's honestly not that big a difference between the air temperature. Upper 60s to, you know, 70s is probably what you're looking for. I don't go out to the water with a thermometer though, which is probably something I should do now that I think about it. Major Moore. What is the hottest day you have in your life? I don't know. That's not something that is subjective. There is an actual answer. I'm going to look that up. You know, there is a hottest recorded day since 1989. Let's look at what it is because that's the answer. In America, of course, you know, the hottest recorded day in like, you know, the Sudan or Iran or something is probably not relevant. Hottest recorded day in Texas since 1989. Let's see. Now you got to remember this is just a guide because if this was in a city I wasn't in at the time, it doesn't really apply. Well, oh my god. Well, some of these are absolutely insane. All right, since 1989. No. December 23rd. No, it doesn't have a number for it. Oh, that's the cold. That's like the coldest it's been. The furthest back I can find that where I was still alive for this list is 1998, which I would have been 9 years old at the time. 110. Yeah, that's nasty. Really gross. There were a couple of days at the Houston Zoo where it was like 108 or something like that, and that was like in 2015, I think. There was a summer where we had like 20 some odd days over 100 degrees. It was a horrific summer, and we had so many people passing out due to heat exhaustion. It was, yeah, one of those days was probably the hottest that I've experienced, and it was like full on. Like I'm looking at this list. That might have been in Dallas. In Houston, it was something like 107, 108, and that's not including like the what it feels like temperature. That was the actual measured temperature, 107 degrees Fahrenheit, I think it was. Really horrific stuff, really bad. So yeah, and then of course the day that felt the hottest to me is when I actually had a heat stroke and I had a medical emergency as a result. That messed me up for months. Horrid Ohm says, what areas would you recommend to people searching for gator gar in Oklahoma? You know, I don't know off the top of my head because I don't ever fish in Oklahoma, so I've never actually looked it up. Um, Texoma is probably a pretty good, fishery. Do you guys are y'all bordered by the Rio Grande at any point? Because I have heard the best things about the Rio Grande for alligator gar fishing. And you guys have the part, if I'm correct, you have the Red River as part of your border. And then, let's see. I can't remember the direction the Rio Grande takes. I'm looking on a map right now. That's why I'm glancing off to the side of the computer. Okay, I don't. What? I think it's the Red River. The Red River is the one that borders Texas and Oklahoma. That comes out of, spills out of, what do you call it? Lake Texoma. Yeah, the Red River. I would try the Red River, honestly. There's a really phenomenal population of flatheads in the Red River. And I've had some people message me saying they catch good alligator gar in the Red River. But of course, that's assuming you're on the border. If you're in, mid Oklahoma or northern Oklahoma, first of all, I'm sorry. And then second of all, and yes, I grew up with friends in Oklahoma and I would go see them, probably once a year. So I've been to Oklahoma a good number of times, and there ain't nothing up there. But anyway, I would recommend trying the Red River if you're in the South. I've been hearing good things about the alligator gar living in that area. And of course, just look for all the, watch the video I made on how to catch alligator gar. And I go over a lot of the features that you're looking for. Same thing, doesn't change. All right, Brady Baxter says, what are some legal fishing practices you believe should be made illegal? Lord, actually, was just thinking about this and now I've completely forgot. Let me think. What are some things I do not like? Well, obviously, bow fishing for certain species. That's probably the biggest, easiest answer. Certain fish, I don't think it matters that much. Like common carp, as much as I love them, they are a introduced species. So even if they were to be completely wiped out, I would be very sad, but it would have no effect on the environment. Well, you know what? I'm going to walk that back. As far as I am aware, it might not have a strong effect on the environment. The environments do adapt and shift and change. And because the common carp did not have a negative effect on the environment, there is a possibility that should they be removed, you are removing an element that the environment has become dependent on. I actually don't know. I think that is worthy of a study, to be fair. I'm going to look into that. I'm going to see if anyone has actually done research on that. Probably talk to message Solomon David or something, like Dr. Solomon David about that. Maybe talk to Spencer, actually. Spencer has a phenomenal knowledge of carp. He's not from Texas, but he might have that info. But anyway, bow fishing for certain species like alligator gar, the slow growing fish, that would be the huge number one thing that I just should not be legal for those fish. Trot lines, I don't think trot lines should be legal. What's the other one called? Not a trot line, but when you have like a single line going out from the bank, is that just called a throw line? I don't think that should be legal. Just the amount of damage you could do to various animals on trot lines and throw lines, just really nasty. There's no reason for that. There's no purpose for that. In a survival scenario, that's your best friend, and I'm totally fine with it because you're trying to survive, right? But it reminds me of a good joke I'll tell you in a second. Yeah, throw lines, trot lines, I wish that was all illegal. I wish bow fishing for large species was illegal. I wish tournament fishing was illegal for certain species, to be fair. This is one of my problems with state regulations and the agencies that make those regulations, is their incredible lack of consistency on how the fish care in various types of tournaments are carried out. In bass tournaments, they'll literally imprison you for mishandling the fish or cheating in the tournament. But you can just slaughter so many other types of fish indiscriminately, or the sizes of different types of fish indiscriminately, and nobody gives a shit. From these conservation agencies. Like, there's no money in it for them, so they're not motivated. Again, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to talk about this, but it's, as long as I'm in the conservation industry, this will come up when I'm talking about fish. State and government conservation industries, like state departments, like the Department of the Interior, or even just like basic parks and wildlife functions, largely fishery functions, largely just concern themselves with, is there a way to make money off this animal or not? And if there is, that animal will get all the attention in the world. And if there's not, who cares? That's the mentality that you will see displayed. People will pat themselves on the back for passing the bare minimum regulations to protect an animal like once every 20 years. It's really, really, really gross. But anyway, yeah, I'll stick with those as my answer. Trout lines, throw lines, and bow fishing for large, slow-growing animals, things like that. I don't like any of that. And then tournament fishing for those same fish. At least make it catch and release. Like, come on. Let's see. Flumma says, what is the worst cut or puncture you've received while fishing, whether it was from a fish or a hook? Probably, let me think. Worst one. I forget who I've told all these stories to, because I've been hurt so many times, you guys. I'm in a constant state of pain. It never goes away. Some of that is from a life in martial arts. My knee is killing me right now. Just, it hurts so bad. Which, you saw the injury you saw the flare-up of the injury most recently in a fishing video, but this is an old Taekwondo injury. But, and my neck hurts all the time from wrestling. But anyway, fishing, I got a hard head spine before I started YouTube. It was like the first attempt at filming a YouTube video. So this footage has been lost to time. A hard head pectoral fin went right through the side of my knee, and it took me a good 5 minutes to get it out. And this is why the fish is alive and kicking, and my brother and my cousin and me could not finesse it out. We had to do a 1, 2, 3 count pull, and it was the most horrifically painful experience in my life. I still have a little circular scar on my knee from that. That was a painful one. Trying to think. I've had hooks go through my hand and stuff like that, but I think the most painful one, probably the worst one as well, is I got bit by a shark in the hand when I was trying to unhook it. A blacktip shark grabbed me by the thumb, and reflexively, this is a stupid thing for me to do, reflexively, because I wasn't thinking, I was just responding to the horrific pain that shot through my whole body. I pulled my hand away, and those teeth are razor blades, man. Those teeth did not come off my hand. They went through my hand. And you can't see it, I don't think, here, but if you were in person looking at my thumb, you would see there's like 4 white lines that run down my thumb, almost like a lightning bolt. It's pretty cool looking, actually. Those are a shark's teeth cutting all the way through my thumb, like razor blades, when I pull my hand away. That was a bad one. Lots of blood. I uploaded that video to YouTube and had to take it down because of how much blood was in it. That was a painful one. So yeah, we'll go with that. But I've been bitten and mangled by so many things that it's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Any animal you can imagine, I've been bitten by at some point, and that's not an exaggeration. Sharks, alligators, venomous snakes, a zebra, parrots, centipedes, every kind of wasp known to man, a brown recluse, scorpions, just all of the above. All of the above. A pit bull. That one I got really lucky, actually. That would probably take the cake, but I got really lucky. I got attacked by a pit bull. This video is on my Patreon, by the way. My camera is rolling when this happens. And a pit bull grabs my pant leg, so he tries to bite me, and he gets a mouthful of my pants and actually pulls me off my feet, and I fell into a fence that was behind me, and his owner dragged him off me. So very, very lucky. You hear people all the time, mostly stupid people, talk about how, like, if a pit bull attacked me, bro, I would just strangle it. I was like, that pit bull moved so fast. It was so fast. It was way over here, 1 second, and then it was right on me. Like, you cannot react in time. It's not going to work out for you. Yeah, dogs beat humans 1 million out of 1 million times. But anyway, especially pit bulls. Probably the shark. Let's see. Puffin's Adventures. That's a cool name. Do you have any good advice for short and long-nosed gar in lakes? Well, if you're talking about tackle for short and long-nosed gar, they're one of the few fish that I would recommend targeting with treble hooks. Not few fish. They're one of the few gar species that I would recommend targeting with treble hooks because their mouths are softer and smaller than alligator gar. So you can use a treble like this one. Basically, you're going to sight cast it right on their nose. Pretty much the moment they kind of take it, they're going to hit it like two. They move in like bites of two, I've noticed. So you'll throw it out there, they go choo, choo. When they hit that second one, set the hook on them, and you can get a treble right through their the outer end of their face. You can't do that with an alligator gar. You might get lucky, but reliably you can't do it. They love rattle traps. They love what's the other one? Floating twitch baits. Really, you just want to identify like coves and things by the bank that they're going to be moving around. They like spillways. So if you're on a lake and you have a stream spilling in, or an actual spillway on the lake, they love that. Hit them with lures out there or small baits on trebles. Like use small trebles just in case a bigger gar takes it. You're either not going to get the hook set, or worst case scenario, if a big gar takes it and breaks your line, you're using a small kind of flimsy treble hook. The one I showed you is not small or flimsy. I just had it there for demonstration. I'm actually rigging some saltwater lures with these right now. If you lose the hook, that way it's not the end of a fish's life. But yeah, they're not that hard to catch, especially if you can see them. Sight cast to them, put that bait or that lure right on their nose. They'll hit it, and they'll usually hit it twice. Boom, boom. Second one, set the hook. Let's see. Daniel Salazar says, thank you for everything you do. Landed my first big gar in the bayou with info from your videos. Thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely check out the link to get these. If you like fishing for alligator gar in the bayou. But that's cool. I want to know how big it was. Dan Mack says gar over 5 feet should be released back. I agree, but I'm going to extend that. I think every single alligator gar that you catch should be released back. In fact, let's extend that. Every single gar you catch should be released back. I think there's 7 species. All of them. Catch and release only, in my opinion. Let's see. Puffin's Adventure says again, I've been trying to catch a long nose and short nose gar in a big private lake, and I've been having hell getting good hookups. I would say go to small trebles. With those gar, it's okay because you're not letting them take it. That's the thing. With alligator gar, you have it on the outside of their mouth. You've got to wait for them to kind of take that bait back. That's why with big gar you use rigs like these. And then for small gar, you can penetrate the end of their mouth quite easily, I think. So you can use trebles for that. Let's see. Anthony Jones, 1224. How much money do you think I should spend on a good kayak? Depends on what you're trying to accomplish with it. So that really is the sticking point, honestly. Because if you're just going to be paddling around on a flat, calm lake, not very much. You can get a good kayak for like $400 if you're just going to be on calm water with it. If you're going for surf fishing, you want something that is going to be longer and leaner. What's that one company called? Remember. I don't know my kayaks very well, but Ocean something. It sounds like that's obvious, but you want longer, leaner, more expensive kayaks for ocean or whitewater because that is where your safety is going to be at the greatest risk, and that's where your kayak is going to be taxed the most on what performance you can get out of it. So I would say for a kayak that you're going to be regularly ocean fishing, aim for $1,000 at least. If you can get it on sale, obviously. Like that, we're not counting sales. I'm talking about like baseline price. If you're going for the ocean, $1,000. If you're going for flat calm lake, $300, $400, you're fine. In fact, I've seen Spencer and some other people catch sturgeon from kayaks that were not that expensive. It just depends on your level of experience, what you want to accomplish. Yeah, those two things. basically the more demand you're going to put on that kayak, like, are you standing up in it? Are you going to be fighting a massive fish from it? Are you going to be going out to oil rigs on it? Are you going to be kayaking out baits for sharks? You know, a lot of people don't need to do that anymore because they have drones. But like my drone just, it didn't break, but it's having a technical issue with the drop rig. So like if I wanted to go shark fishing right now, I would have to use a kayak. Um, so yeah, it depends on what you want to do. But basically, the more demanding the environment and the more demanding the technique and the fish are, the higher the price needs to be. And I'm going to say, if any concern for your safety is involved, or trophy size or style fishing, go for $1,000 at least, because you're going to be using that thing for years. David Henderson says, just subscribed. Hope you like it. I do. Thank you. It looked like I was saying call me. I'm not. I was doing the shaka there. Don't call me. Caesar Franco says, Gar should always be released. Yes, I agree. In fact, you say my opinion, but I'm going to say that your opinion is in line with demonstrable research. I think it is, yes, on the one hand, it is your opinion. Your opinion is correct, by the way. But on the other hand, I do think the evidence for the health of those fish does point in that direction. So yeah, I think you're correct both objectively and subjectively. Flana says, oh, you're giving me a car. Lexus GX 460 or 4Runner. That's the one I was thinking about. But people have made the prices skyrocket. Yeah, I don't know that Lexus off the top of my head. I'm going to look that up right now. My uncle was a lawyer. My uncle is actually a district attorney now. But I remember when I was a kid, he had a Lexus, and I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. To me, that might as well have been an Aston Martin, which I saw on the road the other day, actually. I saw like an Aston Martin that looked like a Subaru. It was weird, and it was ugly, and I was very disappointed. I was like, James Bond would never. Anyway, GX 460. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's cool. I don't like that high front, though. I mean, push comes to shove, I'm going to use what I can get. Oh, I do kind of like that one, though. The 2024 Lexus GX 550. Oh, that's more expensive, though. Yeah, I'll look into that. FaZe says RAV4. Yes, good suggestion. I have owned a RAV4 in the past. You know what? I cannot believe I wasn't thinking about that. That RAV4 that I owned might be my favorite car I've ever had. I would say the interior of a RAV4 doesn't have quite as much space as a Jeep Patriot, but I think it has enough. And I'm already very familiar with the handling of those cars. Yeah, that might be the one I have to look for. We'll see. Terry Hancock says a Ford Maverick is all-wheel drive. Ford Maverick. Let's see what that is. Oh, it's a truck. Well, yeah, I should say no trucks. No trucks. Because trucks, they don't offer... First off, I'm not going to put any of my expensive gear in the back of a truck because it'll get stolen. And I need to have immediate access to my gear when I do these big overnight trips. So if I had all my gear in the back of a truck, even if I put a cab on it, which I don't trust, you can get through that a little too easily. Even if I put a cab on it, let's say I was doing one of these like big overnight car camping trips in Florida or something, and I needed to get to my gear that was back there. The way I have my setup now in my Jeep is that like I'm here, I usually sleep in the driver's seat. I pull the seat back, lean it back. I have all this space. I have no seat next to me. There's no other seats in my car except my driver's seat. And I'm going to put it back when I sell it. But I have all this space, and if I need anything that I've brought with me, I can get it, right? If I have a truck, I have to get out and then go back, and that's not going to happen. So, yeah, it does look like a good truck, but I don't want a truck. FaZe says Outlander Sport is smaller, but has that option of manual four-wheel drive engagement. I do want that. Smaller may not be a huge problem. Maybe it'll just make me better at packing, you know? Let's see what that one is. Oh, yeah, that's not bad at all. I do like that. Mitsubishi. Huh, yeah, no, I'll look into that one. Toyota 4Runner, that is one I was looking at. One of the guys I was fishing with on a trip, on a guided trip, was driving a Toyota 4Runner, and we talked about that for a bit because I do like the way those look. Let's see. Anthony Jones, 1224 says, "Am I going to do more Galveston fishing?" Yes, actually, probably pretty soon because the sharks are all biting right now, and the first jack of the season that I've seen on social media showed up, and Spencer sent me these. These are castable shark rigs that I am very excited to put to the test. There we go. So yeah, these castable shark rigs. It doesn't look like it. How much tensile strength would you say this wire has? Because it doesn't look like much. It looks very thin and supple. It's 600 pounds. I think maybe it's the other rig that has 600 pounds, but no, I think it's equal. It's several hundred pounds. I think it's 600-pound wire. He sent me these castable shark rigs. Really beautiful rigs. Look at that. Look at the quality of the swivels he makes his stuff with. The crimping that he does, oh my god. Those beads, beautiful. And of course it has the adjustable bead here, so I can actually slide this down. See how it's got a bit of a stick to it? I love that. Because you can decide how much leeway you want to give the fish when he runs with your bait. Beautiful hooks. Real nice. Inline circle hooks, so they're going to be legal for your sharks in Texas and Florida. And then he sent me... I honestly don't know if I own a reel big enough to justify this, so I might have to partner up with like the H-Town Anglers again. This is like a 30-foot shark leader. This is for big fish. Like Spencer catches like everything imaginable, and he catches like hammerheads and things like that. Yeah, massive rig. Look at the size of that hook. It's so cool, and it's so sharp. It is so sharp. Beautiful hook. My God, look at that. Just gorgeous. Really big, long leader. Look at the size of the double crimping. The figure 8 presentation through the swivel. Look at the size of that massive barrel swivel. Beautiful rigs he sent me for shark. So I always complain about saltwater fishing. However, I do love catching sharks, and I do find that I can do good shark fishing videos. So I'm excited about that. I also have a video in my mind that I want to make that is going to involve sharks, but it's not like the selling point is going to be the weird bait that I use, not saltwater fishing. So it will be one of my, I think, more successful weird bait videos, which are kind of proving to be the bread and butter of my channel right now. So we're going to do more of those. I have one for sharks in my brain, so I'm going to use those pretty soon. Hord Ohm says, Ohm, like Ohm's law in chemistry. Or is it physics? I can't remember. I have one, but Hyundai. I can never say that. You can hear my Texas accent come out when I try to say words like that. Hyundai. It's a good bang for the buck. Just make sure it's all-wheel drive make, not the highest clearance, but it's roomy and great gas mileage. I will definitely look that up. In fact, I'm going to look these up now, because what will happen is a lot of these comments become really hard to find after the live stream. So I'll forget some of these things because I'm forgetful. Yeah, no, I do like that. That is a cool car. Yeah. Not gonna lie, I'm in the beggar stage right now, so I'm not in the chooser stage. Wama says, last year I was fishing during that long period of hundreds every day, and the real feel was like 114 plus. Yeah, it was nasty. It was horrible. I'm trying to, like, I'm talking with Alex and Alex Sosa and some other people about, like, should I offer more trips into the summer? Because I'm not gonna lie, it's been a big learning curve for me, but I've enjoyed it quite a lot. Made a lot of money doing it, and I was like, you know what, I could probably keep doing this into the summer. And then I had to stop and I had to think, and I was like, can average people, because here's the deal, there are some very experienced people who have like gone with me on these trips, like very experienced fishermen who have not gone into gar fishing yet. But a lot of the people who book these trips are average people who want to learn how to catch these fish in these environments. And it's like, I've been doing this for years, and I know the tricks on how to, and again, I know the tricks on how to stay out of the heat or how to manage the heat. And even I went down doing this before. I also have like I'm gonna brag on myself a little bit as far as like mental toughness goes. When it comes to like physical like endurance, I'm up there. Like I have pretty extraordinary mental toughness when it comes to like physical pain and discomfort. And even I sometimes like just the suffering is so real when I go to these like 10, 15-hour days in this horrific heat. It gets dangerous. And I was thinking to myself, and I was talking to someone about it. I can't remember who it was, but they were like you cannot take just anybody out on one of these trips when it starts getting to be like 110. Like someone's gonna get killed. And I was like, yeah, no, that's a good point. So yeah, I might extend the trips. I don't know if it will be with Buffalo Bite Fishing Champs. That's kind of his prerogative. You know, it's his business. I can't just say like, oh, yeah, let's keep going. It kind of depends on what he wants to do with his business, and scheduling and all that. But in some form or another, I might do more trips later. But the heat will be the deciding factor of how I do those. So yeah, heat's nasty here in Texas, guys. Sean Hall says, "Is Asian carp in the area you fish?" So the vast majority of carp are from Asia initially. So, like for example, it depends on what species you're being specific about. If you mean like grass carp, yeah, they're everywhere. Being common carp, yeah, they're everywhere. If you mean the variety of offshoots from common carp, like mirror carp, they're not as common, but they're here. If you mean like crucian carp, no, I've never seen a crucian carp. If you mean like big head carp, I think they are still specific to the northern region of the United States, like the German variety of like big head carp and things like that. Silver carp, they're in the northern states. So Texas primarily has the common carp and the varieties of that fish, like the mirror and the koi, and we have the grass carp, all of which originally initiate from the Asiatic region of the world. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Fishing with Burge says, or Burge. Hello, hello back. Adrian Garza says jug line. Oh yeah, that counts for me as a trot line. I'm gonna say let's outlaw that. I hope that's what you're referring to. If you're just now tuning in, I was talking about things. Somebody asked me what fishing techniques are legal that you wish should be illegal, and I said trot lines and throw lines. Jug line, yeah, that's another one that I don't like. Am I still going to chase a world record this year? You mentioned it on YouTube a while back. Probably not. Here's the thing. I know where they're coming from. I know there's you know like I've been a big champion of a like how to say this without going too far. There's been a couple of fish caught recently that were bigger than the one I caught, which is totally fine. Like again, at the end of the day, my prerogative is conservation education. I do not care about records. If I cared about records, I would have weighed that fish. I don't really care about that. I like the fact that I went viral because it was so big. That was fun. But like, I'm probably not going to chase a record, even though I know where the fish that are bigger than the one I caught are being caught. Like I know the exact spot they're being caught in. I found it. So I could go there. I could go there. It would be a bit tricky getting access to that area, but I figured out a way to do it because that's what I do. But I'm probably not going to move in on that because, there are some other guys that have some business practices that I'm very respectful of because I think they're good at it. And they do kind of promote the conservation aspect of fishing for gar. So, like, to catch a world record reliably, I would probably need to move into the area that I identified as being where those fish are coming from. And I don't really see a way of doing that without, kind of like being like openly challenging about it. It's just not worth doing. Honestly, too, my whole thing right now, you guys, is I love alligator gar. I'm not gonna lie. There's a good chance that it. I was talking to a friend of mine from Oklahoma. Remember I said I'd go to Oklahoma once a year? I went and visited some friends growing up. I saw one of my friends growing up the other day. And it was like the first time I had seen her in like 15 years. And I took her kid fishing. And we spent the day together. I took her kid fishing. And we were talking about getting tattoos. Because she has a few, and I don't have any. And I was like, what's it like? Because I kind of want one, but I'm kind of scared at the same time. And like I might get an alligator gar tattoo. That fish changed my life. It's kind of become the defining animal in my life, even though that was never the plan. It's not even my favorite animal, but I might get that tattoo. So yeah, alligator gar are very important to me. Changed my life, but at the same time, I do want to take this channel in a couple of different directions, and that's something I'm very proud of. When I went viral, like I know I bring this up a lot because it was like the biggest thing that happened to me. Right, my whole channel shifted. It became a different thing. It became a bigger thing. It became sustainable. It became, for a while, quite famous. It became something that I could rely on to make money full time because of that animal. But I'm very proud of the fact that as soon as that virality died down, which it always does, unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio, like you're not famous, you're viral. That's temporary, right? I didn't keep trying to catch giant alligator gar to chase that viral attention. I didn't do that. I instantly shifted. Look at my YouTube channel. I did like a video afterwards on like how to catch them, right? Because I was riding that high still. I was still kind of in the news. So I did a video on how to catch them properly with all the tips and techniques. And then from that point on, my channel, I took a turn. I stopped focusing on giant alligator gar for a while because I don't want to rely on that one hit wonder. I have other things I want to do. And what I really love to do right now, my favorite thing to film are these videos about abandoned places. Because that, to me, that is kind of like the core of the channel. Not necessarily the videos going to those places, but like the idea behind it. The fact that these incredible animals that I, want to educate the public on and share the conservation information about in these fun and exciting ways that gets people's attention and gets people to care about these animals. They live right in our modern cityscapes. They are right below your feet. You can catch alligator gar and carp and snakes and even alligators and otters. And you don't catch the otter. That's not what I'm saying. But like you can see these animals. You can see peregrine falcons. You can see bald eagles. You can see all these incredible animals, coyotes, right in your cityscapes. We live in a constant balancing act with the animals because our habitat is on the border of theirs or it overlaps, and these animals learn how to live in that zone. And that has kind of been the core of my channel since the very beginning, is getting people to care about the conservation of those animals specifically. So I think going to these abandoned places like the abandoned Six Flags in New Orleans when I did that video, perfect example of how human structures, when they're left, or even when they're active, animals find a way to cohabitate, and then when they're left to their own devices, nature says, I will take that back, thank you. And these animals say, and I will move right back in, and this is my home now, thank you. So it really kind of is like the apex of the idea behind my channel, going to these abandoned places. It's also just so much fun. I love it so much. So that is kind of the direction I want to take the channel in a little bit more. I was very pleased. I did a poll on the channel what people wanted to see more of this summer, and the overwhelming consensus, almost like I want to say like 1,500 people voted on the poll. The overwhelming consensus was more abandoned places, and I was not expecting that, but I was very happy because that's what I was hoping you would say. So yeah, I want to do more of that, and then the money makers, the ones that pay the bills, are the weird bait videos. So I can catch a 7-foot alligator gar, get 40, 50,000 views on it, or I can catch a 4-foot alligator gar that I can hold like this, but do it with some kind of bizarre bait like a frozen rat, and that gets 320,000 views. I can use a dead snake I found on the side of the road. That gets 1.5 million. I can use a bullfrog I bought from a grocery store. That gets almost 3 million views. Those are what keep the lights on. Those would have been paying the bills. So if I had a choice, I would probably, and still catch alligator gar, but I wouldn't chase that record. I'd want to keep them on the show. I'd want to keep talking about their conservation and showing what an incredible animal they are. But instead of chasing a world record, I would want to do that occasionally and kind of shift the channel towards the abandoned things and the weird bait videos, to keep the lights on, to get those views to pay the bills. So probably not going to chase for the record, but we'll see. You never know. Let's see. Ryan Birch says, "Do you have much experience with bowfin?" A decent amount, yeah, decent amount. Lots of them in the upper stretches of Buffalo Bayou. So if you look in Houston, the upper stretches of Buffalo Bayou as it comes near Highway 6, lots of bowfin in that area. Anthony Jones, 1224. "I'm going to join the military, so I'm going to miss watching your videos." Well, good luck in the military. When they give you leave, watch them then. Horde Ohm says, "Fun story. Last weekend, I got in a boxing match with a car door. I parked my car under a short tree and went to duck under the branch and blasted my forehead on the peak corner of the door. Ouch. Sounds like the door won." And I'm not surprised because they're made out of metal. Brady Baxter says, "Where do you hope to see the Wildlife Channel in 5 to 10 years? And what do you hope to be doing with it at that time?" Kind of what I mentioned before. Well, here's the thing about social media. There is no certainty in this game. YouTube may not even exist in 5 to 10 years. It just depends on what is going on. If, you know, there's another, because there always have been, so there probably always will be. If there's another like horrific displacement of people from their homes, in a massive genocide like there is happening right now in Gaza, and people use YouTube to spread that information, you can bet your ass that people in positions of power will try to shut this down, or will try to change the format of what you're allowed to do on this. So it's like things can change real fast, or the next competitor could come along. What Facebook did to MySpace, that could happen to YouTube. You never know. Do I think it's going to happen to YouTube? Probably not. Probably not in the next couple of years at least. But you never know. There could be a competitor that completely wipes YouTube off the map. And we could all be watching videos on some other social media site. I don't know. But assuming YouTube stays in its current form and function, because it has kind of found a rhythm in the last 10 years that it hasn't really broken from, where do I hope to see the channel? Kind of what I mentioned before, focusing on the conservation information about animals, more conservation information. I've kind of gotten away from that recently, just trying to get videos to work in the algorithm. But more information about conservation, more abandoned places. I might even start a second YouTube channel. I had one about food and I got real bored with it real fast. And one of the things I've decided is that, like, there are so many incredible abandoned places with wild animals and all kinds of cool things to see, that don't have enough water to justify having on this channel that has unfortunately become about fishing. This channel was never meant to become about fishing, but YouTube has a weird way of saying, no, you do this now. Anything else you post, we're not going to push in the algorithm. So it became a fishing show by default, not by choice. And, I just kind of went with the flow, roll with the punches, as you do. But I would love to have a second channel all about abandoned places. Still kind of keep the conservation aspect alive in that, but kind of focus on the abandoned element the most. And then with the channel I do now, really focus on conservation, focus on those abandoned places, kind of, pay the bills with the weird bait videos. But I would like to branch out. That's the thing. Right now, I have the need to pay the bills keeps my channel pretty specific. Even though a lot of people will tell me like they like my channel because of the variety, I have to go back to the same well over and over and over, because that is the only reliable views that I get on YouTube. YouTube is weird. YouTube is so weird. Some people, it says, okay, we like anything. I say we. I'm talking about like YouTube's bizarre algorithm. Some people will have their channel put out by that algorithm no matter what. Just whether it's proximity to other famous YouTubers that they know sharing their stuff, whether it's the strength of another social media site, like sending people their way. They could post literally anything and it gets hundreds and hundreds and thousands, even millions of views. Even if it's not good, even if it's not specific to what they normally do, even if, there's nothing specifically unique about it. YouTube says to some people, I like you, your stuff goes out. And then it says to some people, screw you. And then that person, me, has to say, well, you know what? Let me get extremely creative to succeed on this platform despite not having any advantages from the website itself. So yeah, the necessity of paying bills and keeping the lights on and all that has dictated what I've been able to do on my channel. That's why I do so many weird bait videos and abandoned place videos, because they get good views. So in a perfect world where my channel was getting put out by the algorithm on a more regular basis, I would focus a lot more on conservation and on more animals than just fish. I would love to start putting more reptiles on the channel. Oh, skip too far there. Favorite state I've fished in? Overall, got to be Florida. Texas, obviously, alligator gar has the best alligator gar fishing on Earth. But when it comes to the sheer reliability of just like bizarre fish left and right, any little nook and cranny you look at, there's something amazing swimming in it. You're not going to beat Florida. So Florida for that reason. Do I have any cheap catfishing rods? Depends on what you call cheap. Denali bottom feeders are cheap. They're like $50, but they're also like $40 shipping, and they don't have them in a lot of stores. So that's a $90 rod. I'm trying to think. I use a Ugly Stick GX2 for like blue cats and stuff like that. That's a reliable rod if you're throwing out smaller baits. That'll catch big fish. I caught a 70-pound alligator gar on a Ugly Stick GX2 medium heavy. It will handle big catfish and big gar. But the rod you're using has more to do with the type of weight and line and the environment you're fishing, more so than the type of fish that you're catching. So yeah, I mean, the Ugly Sticks are cheap. They work. And you can find them everywhere. PC Outdoor says, do you have any recommendations on how to catch a flathead live bait? I'm on Oklahoma-Texas border, Lake Texoma. Well, you're in a good spot. Red River area. I'm 13, have been trying for 2.5 years. Well, you have all the time in the world, kiddo. Man, what was I doing when I was 13? I got bit by a snake. That's what I was doing. I was in the hospital for the better part of the year. So yeah, you have all the time in the world. Don't rush it. Number one, be safe. You're 13. Anything I tell you, I feel like I'm going to be held liable for anything that goes wrong. But just in general, for anyone who's listening, to catch flathead, you're looking for deep holes in the river, so pockets where the bank is deeper, and you are looking for moving water, eddies over deep holes on the sides of fast-flowing currents, or just deep holes at the bottom of fast-flowing currents. Really, that's what you want. And you want live bait. That is the key. Live bait for those flatheads. JC says, you should fish the small creeks next to the Trinity River in Baytown. Next to the Trinity River in Baytown. It's called JJ Mays Wildlife Trace. They have some huge gar. I'm going to look that up. I actually was planning a trip, not to that specific area, but to that side of Houston. What did you say it was? Typing this in, because again, I'll forget all this. It's a park. Okay, so that should be fairly easy to find again. Let's pull it up on the map. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was, let's see how close the nearest spot I was looking at. Oh, yeah, no, I know this area. What was I... Oh, you know what? Oh, how about that? It's already saved on my maps. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pins all over the United States for different things I want to film, and I actually already have that part pinned. I just haven't made my way out there yet, but yeah, I'll give it a go on your recommendation. Ryan Birch says mid-90s Land Cruiser for a car. I'll look that up. I'd like a more recent car. I mean, mid-90s at this point is like pushing 30 years. Let's see. Flemma says, really? Yeah, I really like the Lexus SUVs, especially when customized. Anthony Jones, 1224. Do you think that the Penfierce 4 8000 is a good reel for 10-foot sharks? No. Oh, the 8,000. For some reason, I read that as the well. Also, no. I thought you said the 4,000. I was like, no, you'll get exploded. And then I was like, oh, it says 8,000. And then I said, or then I saw you wrote 10-foot sharks. So no, a 10-foot shark will explode a size 8,000 Penn Fierce reel. Don't try that. If you are fishing for sharks over 6 feet in length, you need to spend some money. Uh, they will absolutely annihilate the cheap reels. They will destroy you. It's a 10-foot shark. You need some heavy duty gear to bring those in. Look at the stuff that any shark fishing reference I get, I'm going to reference one of two groups. I'm either going to reference Spencer from Terra Firma Tackle, or I'm going to reference the what do you call it? H-Town Angler Shark Fishing Team. And because only one of them has a YouTube channel, I'm going to recommend you watch the videos from the H-Town Angler Shark Fishing Team, because you can actually see the rods and reels. They are targeting sharks up to 10 feet, hundreds of pounds. They caught like a 500-pound bull shark a few months back in, I think, the greater Galveston area. I don't know exactly where they were. But to catch sharks like that, you need to drop some serious money on some serious gear, or you're just going to be throwing your money down the drain, because a shark will blow it up. A shark of that size is not to be underestimated. They are monsters. Not in the sense of like, oh, they're evil monsters. But like if we're talking about like the power an animal can have, a 10-foot shark is phenomenally powerful. So yeah, spend money. Get something big. Avid EXW, bare minimum, get like a, what do you call it? What's that? Shimano, what's the really expensive one? There's the Daiwa Dogfight. A Saltiga Dogfight from Daiwa is like that. It can handle sharks that are really big if you get a big model. The Shimano, what's a really expensive Shimano reel? That one that kind of compares to the Saltiga. I always forget the name of it. It's a really expensive one. Maybe if you're fishing from a boat, you might be able to get away with a Shimano Saragossa if it's a really big one. But even that is pushing it for a 10-foot shark. 10 feet of shark is no joke. What is it? I'm looking it up right now. I'm mad I can't remember it. I'm willing to bet you people are answering in the comments right now. I could just look and answer all my questions, but I'm kind of pissed off that I've forgotten, and now it's a matter of honor. I must find it. The Stratic. The Stratic is tiny. Oh my god, what is that expensive one called? Oh, I'm losing my mind. God almighty. Anyway, the really expensive Shimano one, I can't remember. The Stella, that's the one I was thinking of. Really big Shimano Stella, or like the Daiwa Saltiga Dogfight, like really big version of that. Or you're going to need like an Avid EXW, like really big. Depending on whether you're fishing from the bank or from a boat, that can change the answer a little bit. But basically, you need to spend about $1,000 on a reel to catch a shark that size reliably. Anyway, Hi says, how are you guys? Hi says, yes, it is sad because people seem not to care. Don't know what we're talking about, but probably something about alligator gar conservation. Yes, when they don't care, it is sad. Horror Ohm says, what martial arts have you taken? Which is your favorite to train? I'm a mixed martial artist. I've been a martial artist since I was 15 years old, so going on 20 years now. I'm a mixed martial artist, so typically I've taken, I say taken, I don't like saying I've taken a martial art because that makes it sound like I was a kid at soccer practice. Like I still actively train and practice these martial arts. So I say I'm trained in and practice the style of. Originally, when I was 15, it was the ITF style of Taekwondo, which is more like Shotokan karate than like what you see in the Olympics. The Olympic style Taekwondo is from the World Taekwondo Federation, so there's a lot of like almost no punching at all. In fact, I don't think they can punch each other in the head. It's basically just guys like pushing each other and then like throwing like axe kicks and stuff. That's useless. But Hey, calm down. My dog is barking. The International Taekwondo Federation, the ITF, they do much more of a karate-based Taekwondo interpretation. So there's a lot more of like that traditional Joe Louis, who I knew personally, style karate stance. A lot more of like the Gyakizuki, which is the right hand straight. There's a lot more of like lead leg kicking and side kicking. That was my first martial art, and still the side kick is still my favorite move. But from there, I started training in Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, collegiate wrestling, and Western boxing. And so those are the styles of martial arts that I actively train in. What is my favorite to train depends entirely on my mood. Depends entirely on my mood, and that can change at any given time. Um, yeah, it just depends. It really does depend. I can't pick a favorite to train. It just depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes you're like in the mood to, roll nogi. Sometimes you're in the mood to kick someone in the head with your lead leg. Sometimes you're in the mood to kick someone in the leg with your rear leg. It's like sometimes your hands are feeling kind of fast and you want to work on the boxing. It just depends. Anthony Jones, 1224 says, I'm 17 and I love to watch your vids. I appreciate it. Thank you. Fama says, what's usually my approach to fishing when there is so much rain? Do you still go for gar or do you switch it up? Well, because oh, you're okay. My dog got scared. I have a fidget toy here. It makes a little clicking sound when you rotate it. I love this thing because I have very, very strong undiagnosed ADHD, and I love fidget toys like this. But anyway, she got scared when I did that. Because I do it full time, my answer may not be applicable. I have to weigh the odds of being able to. It's like a what's the word? Like the cost ratio needs to be on one side. So, for example, if I can see that there is a ton of rain coming next week, but I have several days this week where filming will be possible, I will load up on videos. I will go out and I will try to film a video every day of the week. Usually I don't get one every day. I get like maybe 3 if I'm lucky. And then the next week I will spend editing those videos. I will spend it planning future videos. I do a lot of brainstorming. A lot of the ideas that are on my channel, like the crazy like rat videos or abandoned place videos, things like that. Catching fish in a flooded basement. Like I spend hours, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours writing, sketching, just brainstorming, searching for these places online. That takes an enormous amount of time to do. Those ideas did just not just pop into my head. And then even the little details take like obsession to get right. So like I have probably, I want to say probably 10 different versions of the one photograph I used for that rat thumbnail. And I looked at a variety of other YouTube videos. I looked at some famous paintings. Sometimes when I create thumbnails, I'm not looking at other YouTubers. I'm looking at like famous pieces of art and why I think they catch people's eye and like what about them do I want to try to steal. So like there's a whole bunch of stuff that is not just fishing that goes into my channel. In fact, I would say fishing is probably the least important part, or at the very least, is the part that I dedicate the least amount of time to overall. So my answer to that question is I front load on videos on good weather weeks, and then when I know bad weather is coming, I'll focus my attention on that kind of stuff. But to answer your question the way you asked it, what would my approach be if I was trying to film or fish and film on a really, really heavy rainy day? I would probably look at spillways, areas that are going to be exceptionally captivating to have on camera, and might have a change in the type of fish that are going to be in that area. So, for example, if I know, for example, there's a certain spillway down the street from where I am that is usually just a trickle. If I know there's going to be a massive rainstorm, if I feel safe filming in the lightning, I'll film at that spillway in the rainstorm when it's like cascading down and it looks crazy. And I know that there might be fish coming out of it. I'll try to see what I can cast net. I'll try to see if there's fish swimming upstream to intercept them. I'll catch those. I'll try to get creative and think about like what would look good on camera in the rain, and where will fish be or be behaving differently in the rain than what they normally do. And where those two ideas intersect is what I would try to film on a rainy day. Christopher Lee. Are you the Christopher Lee? I think Christopher Lee died. Anyway, Christopher Lee, great actor. Howdy from Gonzales. Okay, you're not the Christopher Lee. Howdy from Gonzales, Texas. Well, hello. See, I'm really trying to brainstorm over here, but you know more than me. Well, yeah, have a look at spillways and things like that. They typically can be interesting in the rain. The hardest part for me when it's raining is actually like how to sell the video from a photography standpoint. So getting a good thumbnail and things like that is very hard in the rain, and that's a huge part of what I do. The Tasty Pastry, that's a good name, says, what is the best lure to use for bass in Kansas City, Missouri? I don't know. I've never been to Kansas City, Missouri. I would ask fishermen in that region. There's a couple of types of baits that are always going to be reliable. Crankbaits, with a silver or blue undertone, always work well for bass. Soft plastics are very versatile. A lot of people like wacky rigs, but it depends on the fish in that area. And I don't have any experience fishing that area. I would recommend asking someone who does, because I could give you all the theories in the world, but a fisherman who fishes for bass in Kansas City, Missouri, anything they say trumps anything I say as a theory. Their practical experience is going to be more important. Friends Fishing and Adventure. Yo, love shark fishing. I spent $300 on a reel. Good. And used Dad's old rod from the Keys. Caught some big ones. Yeah, those old rods, they hold up. They, it's interesting. The reels from, a few decades past get outdated, except for the pen. The pen is still solid. They get outdated fairly quickly, but the rods are solid. Mr. Corey Moon says hi. The Tasty Pastry says hi. Dope Spanky. I remember in a previous video you mentioned that I alter my circle hooks when fishing for gar. Are these Terra Firma rigs also bent the way I do it? Yes. That was part of the whole point. These are not just normal circle hooks. And by the way, the model I'm holding right now is a prototype. He actually made the adjustments off of what I recommended off of these prototypes that I'm showing you. So the ones that I'm showing you now are the prototypes. He made some changes on my recommendation. One of which was the braid. So we chose a heavier, thicker Kevlar braid than the one you're seeing right here. We altered I actually sent him photographs with degrees and measurements. We altered the hook's points ever so slightly from what you see here. This is a prototype. The one that I actually sent him back, and I was like, let's do this. It is ever so slightly wider, and to me, that makes all the difference in the world. So yes, the gar rigs in that link in the description of this video that Terra Firma Tackle is selling, they are designed by me, and they are to the specifications of what I do on YouTube. So yeah, they are the modified circle hooks you see me use all the time. It is not just some random circle hook rig that I'm trying to sell because I can. We have worked on this for weeks to get it exactly perfect. And when it wasn't perfect, I was like, Spencer, this is not perfect yet. Spencer said, let's make it perfect. And Spencer made it perfect. So they are exactly to the specifications that you see me fish in the videos where I catch these monstrous animals. Let's see. Eric Gillen says, ever caught a shark in our bayous, for example, by the plant? I'm sure there are bulls in there. Never seen it, though. Would be cool to see that on video. Yes, I do want to try to do that. That's been a goal of mine for a long time. Alex Sosa, Buffalo Bite Fishing Champs, had a video on Instagram that he put up talking about sharks in the bayou. And I'm in the video because we both do kind of think that I might have hooked one. I was fishing with a rig like this for alligator gar. Very thick. I think it was 400-pound Kevlar braid at the time. And fish took the bait. Big fish took a big bait. And I set the hook on him. And this fish did an about face. And he went backwards. He turned completely around and went backwards, which alligator gar do not do. And instantly bit right through the Kevlar, which alligator gar cannot do. So I do think I have hooked a bull shark in the Houston Bayous, and that was downtown. That was by Allen's Landing. I have also heard stories from a person that I trust. I have a secondhand account of a bull shark having been spotted in a certain area of Houston that before I even heard this story, I pinpointed that area as being where I think they would be based on a couple of surrounding factors that mimic how they behave in Florida. So, yes, I do believe there are bull sharks in the Houston bayous. I do intend to catch one. Jason got it says I arm wrestle. What is over the top? That's what it is. With Sylvester Stallone where he turns his hat around backwards and he does that dun 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 dun. Psychic Psych Toad says, "Hey guys, I was wondering when you'd show up." Let's see. Eric Gillen says opportunity cost. I don't know what you mean by that. Probably in relation to something else that somebody else said. So there's probably context to your comment that I'm forgetting or have missed. Cloud Customs says collab after ADCC. Oh, I've met Craig Jones. I could reach out to Craig Jones, be like, catch fish, man. Like all those dudes are in Austin now. Craig Jones, Nicky Rodriguez, J Rod, who else? Not Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan. Oh, actually, is Gordon Ryan? No, Gordon Ryan is in Austin. He's just not on the B team. Nicky Ryan's on the B team, but Gordon Ryan is also in Austin. So yeah, no, I would love to get those guys. Actually, interesting you brought that up. There is a jiu-jitsu world champion who it's a possibility of getting him on the show at some point. I don't want to say his name, but he's a somebody. So that is a possible thing that could possibly happen in the future. But we'll see. Yeah, no, I want to get Craig Jones on here. Let's see. Chris Foley says, try fishing with a hand reel. I might. Hand lining. That's something I want to try. Gotta be real careful about that, though. Horde Omen says, that's awesome. I love anything MMA. Oh, I have something to show you in a second. Knowing how to protect yourself is very important. It definitely is. They give you the type of discipline you can take to everyday life and goals, and it's fun. Yes, martial arts in general does build incredible discipline. But here's the thing about martial arts that I think that a lot of people in martial arts, especially if they have something to sell in martial arts, I think ignore. The type of person you are I don't think it changes with training in martial arts. I think the type of person you are affects how you train martial arts and how you go about your life with that knowledge. I think if you're a jackass outside of the gym is not going to change you. You're going to be a jackass in the gym. That's why I do this massive eye roll anytime somebody says like, oh, if cops would only learn jujitsu, they wouldn't strangle people. I was like, no, they would just do it more effectively. Like they're not going to change. Jiu-jitsu doesn't change people. It just gives you more confidence. Martial arts gives you more confidence. If you're already hurting people and you learn jiu-jitsu, you're just going to get better at it. You're not going to stop doing it. It's like Johnny from the Karate Kid. Like that's the more realistic version of an asshole who learns martial arts than someone who's like, oh, this changed me. Like, no, it really won't. It just makes you more confident. So yes, it does give you discipline and confidence, but like it doesn't change you for the better. That's a myth. That's a myth that's put out there by people who are selling their instruction of martial arts to children. Tasty Pastry says, I love wacky rigs. Caught a 5-pound bass in my local pond with one. Ah, that's nice that you have 5-pound bass in your local pond. Horde Oma says, I know very little in retrospect, but the small amount I have trained has been some of the most fun I've ever had. Yeah, if you get a good gym with a good instructor, martial arts are just the pinnacle, I think, of just being. Like, I love martial arts. I love it so much. Somebody asked me, I get this question every now and then. I think people are finally starting to pick up on it. People are like, if you had to pick fishing or martial arts, I was like, so basically you're asking me to choose between going to work every day or just getting to do my passion every day. It's like martial arts every time without thinking about it. I love martial arts. Phased says, wildlife, I'm a conservationist. I have a question for my opinion. What do you think about the masses of soft plastics going into the water? Is it better or worse than hard baits and live baits? That is a good question. So when you have I'm looking around to see if I have one for an example, but I don't. When you're using a soft plastic, there's a good chance that a fish, snakehead, are a good example of this. They rip them to pieces, and you end up inadvertently putting plastic in the water. There's a couple of things you can do to combat that. So right off the bat, a couple of things to keep in mind. You can. Somebody was telling me that there's a technique where you can basically wrap like fishing floss around it and then put super glue over that, and it almost acts as like a flexible cage to keep the plastic together but still maintain its movement. So there's tricks you can do to make that less likely. I do think it is something worth keeping in mind. Hard baits are going to be lost probably less often by the fish themselves. Yeah, no, it's absolutely worth considering. It's one of those things though where it's like on the whole, on the whole, massive corporations put so much plastic into the water. I read a stat the other day from, I think it was NOAA, so the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that a dump truck worth of garbage goes into the ocean every second. And the vast majority of that are from first world countries like ours, overproducing single-use plastics, and that plastic ends up in the ocean. And a lot of city recycling, like, is just nonsense. It's literally just marketing for city managers. You will put plastic, you'll sort your recyclings out, you'll put one in a recycling bin, one in the garbage bin, and then when they collect them down the road, it just goes into the same pile, and it doesn't get recycled. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but that's a thing that happens. Like, most recycling doesn't actually get recycled. It is literally just political marketing for people's careers to say that they're doing that. So it's one of those things where it's like, yes, you could theoretically put plastic in the water by using a soft plastic bait, but when you consider the fact that a dump truck's worth of garbage goes into the water every single second because of massive, corporations in our first world, hyper late stage capitalist society, it's like there's bigger targets to aim for when we're talking about the reduction of plastic. You are not the problem as an individual when it comes to global pollution. You are not the problem as an individual when it comes to the use of fossil fuels. So that is one of the specific areas where we have a little bit more pulling power. But still, you are not the individual, responsible for like turning your lights off is not going to severely disrupt or affect the industries utilizing power grids. Getting solar panels, getting legislation passed to require solar panels is actually disrupting that industry in California, which is quite interesting because they're trying to outlaw it now. They're trying to say, no, you can't have power. You can't have power grids because they return too much power back to the power grid. You can't have solar panels because they return too much power back to the power grid. And it's like, wasn't that the entire point? Wasn't that what everyone was saying should happen? Isn't that like the end goal of like power consumption, that we actually produce more than we use? And they're like, yes, but these companies that I have investments in aren't making as much money. And it's like, that's literally the problem. Literally the problem. It's like they solved a problem and they literally said, you know what, we're making a lot less money now, so like, fuck the solution. It's just anyway. So yeah, to your point, yeah, that is something worth considering. Hard baits over soft plastics if you're concerned about putting plastic in the water. But it is also worth considering that when it comes to putting plastic in the water, it is first world corporate entities that are going to do it more than you could ever imagine. AZ Gamer says, where do I get my hair cut? Unfortunately, I've been getting it cut at Sports Clips just because there's one close by. I don't recommend them. Flamis says, favorite UFC fighter of all time? Forgot to ask. That would be George St. Pierre. But let me show you guys before I forget. I bought this the other day and it just came in. So one of these, I have two. One of them is like extra large. I don't know why, because I'm buying extra large. But I bought this poster that I'm going to frame and put up on my wall over there. I don't know if I can get it to I'm trying to get it to stay open. Hang on a second. When I buy posters or paintings, I usually do it based upon like moments that stand out instead of just like favorite fighters. Although the person in this poster is one of my favorites, it was the moment that stood out to me where I was like, I must have that on my wall. So I bought this recently. That is going up on the wall in a frame. Max Holloway knocking out Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt, UFC 300. Just psycho moment as a fan. Just blew my mind. But anyway, as far as all-time favorite UFC fighter, that would be George St. Pierre. Cloud Custom says, let's do it. My boy is a beast. I can make it happen. I don't know what you're talking about. Roberto Jimenez. Yes, no. That is who I was talking about, actually. He is amazing. I am a big fan. Phenomenal grappler. Roberto's been one of my best friends since I was like 7, but I work with a lot of UFC guys. Man, like, let's hook it up. You, me, whoever you can get to come along. We will make it happen. Robbie Cornett says, I caught an 11-pound bass on a chatterbait. Yeah, chatterbaits are really good baits. That's one of those baits that's been around for decades because it works. Big Cash McKay. That's a good name. Sounds like a western villain. Big Cash McKay. What's your advice? Like Randolph Scott. Randolph Scott would play a character called Big Cash McKay. For those of you who don't know, Randolph Scott is a very old time western actor. What is your advice on catching long-nosed gar without throat hooking them? They're easy to catch without throat hooking them. Use a very small treble hook or lure, and just drop the bait or the sight cast to them. Drop the bait or the lure right on their nose. As soon as they hit it, maybe after they do their second hit, because they'll go boom, boom, set the hook. You can put that hook right through their nose. They're easy to catch without throat hooking them. Robbie Cornett says, how can I catch big catfish? First thing you got to do is you got to go to the Terra Firma Tackle website and buy one of these rigs that I designed. They are for alligator gar specifically, but they can catch massive catfish. It's all about location and bait, like any fish. Identify the kind of place that is near you or where you can access that would hold catfish. You know, deep pools off the main current of moving water. Use live bait. Stuff like that. Let's see. Faye says, I think soft plastics pollute way more than hard baits or live baits. Well, yeah, live bait's just a live bait. You know, you're not, as long as you're using local live animal baits, you're not polluting in that sense, unless you're talking about losing the rig. But as far as hard baits are concerned, yeah, no, I agree. I agree that is a consideration you should have. Marco Pena says, hey, bro, can you guide me to some bass fishing spots in Houston? I will be in Houston this weekend, staying near NRG Stadium. Email me about that. If you want a guided trip, email me, wildlifefishingshow@gmail.com. Robbie Cornett says, how do you catch more catfish? Persistence. It's all about location. That's the key. Location. Flama says, UFC fight. Nice poster. What a moment. Yeah, the knockout from Max Holloway. Absolutely psycho. AZ Gamer says, what do I call my current haircut or hairstyle? Well, it's grown out a little bit since I first got it cut. But basically, I show the barber or the hairstylist a picture of Tom Hardy, and I say, I want to look like that. And then they laugh at me, and they're like, you do not look like Tom Hardy. And I was like, I didn't say I look like Tom Hardy. I said, what is goddamn haircut? And then they do it. All right. Are there any alligator gar in Georgia? Absolutely. Brady Baxter, did you hear about the... Sorry, that hurt. I don't know what that was. Something in my eye for a moment. Brady Baxter says, did I hear about the large, number of sawfish that have been recently been found dead in Florida? Yes. Very interesting. So for those of you who are not up to date on this, a phenomenon was seen fairly recently that is still occurring where sawfish, critically endangered animal, I believe they are actually listed as critically endangered. I'm not being hyperbolic. I believe that is actually their conservation status, but at the very least they're endangered. Massive animals. They get 15 feet long. huge big animals. They have been seen lethargically swimming in circles in shallow water, disoriented, and this occurs leading up to their demise. They die. And researchers don't know why yet. And what's interesting is they've started observing that behavior in smaller bony fish too. So not only do you have it happening in large cartilaginous fish like sawfish, but they actually started to observe it in smaller bony fish as well. So some type of environmental factor is causing this behavior. And I don't know if it is due to like the extreme effects of climate change or some type of pollution or a combination. But a breakthrough was made, kind of. The lead up to what might hopefully become a breakthrough was made. They rescued one successfully. Every other one they tried to get to has died. But they successfully rescued a sawfish that was seen swimming in circles, and they have started to rehabilitate it in captivity, and they're studying it, they're keeping tabs on it, and they're doing medical tests on it, and they might have a bit of a breakthrough to figure out what is going on. So yeah, I have heard about that. I am very curious to know what is happening, because it's bad enough when it's one endangered animal, but when it starts being seen across species, especially across species with no close relation, so bony fish and cartilaginous fish, the nearest common ancestor goes back millions and millions of years. And yet you still have both of them being affected by the same mystery phenomenon. Really scary stuff for the environment these fish are in. So the fact that they were able to rescue one successfully and might crack the case, fingers crossed, big deal. So I'm tuned into that. Lost connection there for a minute, but I was talking about sawfish and how they rescued one, and they might actually have Lord willing, an answer coming soon. Robbie Cornett says, what are my thoughts on Conor McGregor? He's got more money than I do. Phenomenal fighter. Conor McGregor is a great fighter. His best days are probably behind him. He's still extremely dangerous. I still think that he could give any lightweight a run for their money. Do I think he's going to get the title back? No. But change the way the PR side of the sport is done. And in his prime, I think he's one of the best to ever do it. He's also a massive asshole and a really horrible person, as a lot of sports stars are. But I have, hang on one second. I was talking about how I buy paintings not just of people, but of sporting moments. This is the other one I have hanging up. I have this one hanging up over in my kitchen. So the conclusion to the second Diaz McGregor fight. I have that one hanging up on my wall. All right. Easy Gamer. How do you speak for this long? I suck at talking to the camera. Would you please give me some advice? Well, yeah, there's a couple of things you can do. I have a very, very deep background in public speaking. And I don't know how old you are, but if I'm not mistaken, you're fairly young. Either nearing or in high school, I believe, if I'm guessing correctly from the videos that I've seen you post. I would recommend taking a public speaking course. You don't have to compete. I did compete quite a lot in high school in public speaking competitions, but definitely take a public speaking course. It will change your life. My wife and I have talked about this. There's two things. I am not one of those people who's like, if I ever have children, like I'm gonna make them train martial arts. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. Like no, like I'm gonna be supportive of what my kids want to do. If I ever have any kids, which I may not. But hypothetically, there are two things that I would make all of my kids do. One of them is learn to swim, because that's a life-saving skill that I think all kids should have. And the other one is public speaking. When they're in school, I would make them do public speaking courses. So yeah, take some public speaking courses. Do it as often as possible. Not the courses, but public speaking in general. That's really the thing. It's just about comfortability. See, what you guys are seeing right now is the comfortable side of me speaking in public. When I actually do it professionally, not just like on YouTube, but if I actually have to give some kind of presentation in public professionally, what you get from me is a much more eloquent version of what you see on YouTube. I am a very experienced speaker, and when I speak publicly, it's kind of like this, but the presentation is much more formal, and I would say I speak more eloquently. See, I can't even get that word out right now. In public settings, but that is from experience, and that is the answer to your question. You need experience. Experience gives you practice, it makes you comfortable, you learn what works, you learn what doesn't work. You learn little tricks of the trade. You even learn how to pace yourself differently, because you can have a theory on what you want to say and how you want to say it, but until you actually start to get the words out and figure out when you're going to breathe, and that will change when you're going to put emphasis on words, and when you put emphasis on words is going to change how people react to what you're saying. Like all these little things that you start to figure out when you're actually in front of a live audience, it all changes. So speak publicly as much as you can, take public speaking courses, and practice in front of actual people. Also practice in front of a mirror. You guys will notice that I gesticulate with my hands all the time. I learned a long time ago, the best speakers in the world don't just move their hands. They move their hands in a very practical and tactical way. So every single move is calculated, and they don't think to themselves like, okay, at this point in time, I will move this palm over here. I will do this. I'm going to look this way. It becomes, it's like fighting. You practice these maneuvers enough, and they become instinctual that you do them when they matter most as a reflex. Gesticulating with your hands and your body, how you poise, how you move, how you present yourself when you make a point, that all becomes just a part of your speaking instinct when you put yourself in a position where you speak to crowds and speak in public regularly, and when you have something on the line. So whether your job is on the line, a presentation is on the line, a competition is on the line, you really start to care about how effective your speaking style will become. So yeah, do those things and have fun with it. It also doesn't hurt that I am extremely competitive by nature, and I love the sound of my own voice, and I talk too much. So I love to see myself on camera. Flama says, if I had to eat a fish from the Houston Bayou to survive, which one would it be? Good Lord, I have to think about that. I'd probably pick one that moves in and out with the tide, so like a red drum, just because they're not going to spend all of their time in the bayou. Not that like the ship channel and all that is much better. In fact, that might even be worse. The ship channel might actually be worse water quality than the inner side of the bayou. I don't know. I have to think about that. Definitely not like a filtering fish, like a mullet. That would never happen. Jesse says, love your multi-species fishing and finding out what fish live in those abandoned pools. I catch everything up here in Ontario, Canada. Want to catch some big gar and catfish? Well, come on down to Texas and we will make it happen. Gary Englovich, is this still live? Yes. Texas Fishing with Nate says, how often do I fish out in Dallas? I actually did a massive attempt at a video in Dallas. I spent like 3 days in Dallas a few months ago. Did not catch a thing. So that didn't end up on the YouTube channel. But I might try again now that it's warming up, because it was still fairly cold when I did that. Robbie Cornett says, what are your thoughts on Jake Paul fighting the retired Mike Tyson? Jake Paul needs to stop fighting old retired men. Fauna says, I actually really think swimming should be a requirement to be taught in schools just like PE. I agree. I 100% agree. I think that would be a good move. Big Cash McKay says, do you think it's cruel to catch sharks due to how sensitive their facial area is? So depends on what you mean when you say how sensitive their facial area is, because different animals are sensitive to different things. Sharks do have a very sensitive facial area. They are sensitive, however, to primarily electric impulses. So when you see a shark up close, you'll notice like hundreds of these random little dots on their face. There's a name for that. It's called the ampullae of Lorenzini. That is the actual scientific name for that. Each one of those little dots you'll see on a shark's face, the ampullae of Lorenzini, they are these little electrically sensitive impulse points on a fish or on a shark's face, and that is how they can detect steel leaders, for example. That's why these are PVC coated shark leaders. That is how they can detect the heartbeat of their prey. So they are very sensitive to electricity. That does not mean that they're sensitive to sharp objects or pain in the same way you and I are. Obviously, sharks do use their mouth as a feeler, if you will, to determine what they want to eat. That's how most shark attacks actually happen. Sharks are saying, like, that looks like a food item, the way it's presented and where it is. Do I want to eat this? No, I don't. And they leave. The problem is that is so devastating to us that sometimes it can be life-threatening. That is what most shark attacks actually are. But what you got to remember about a lot of fish, and this is not an open and closed case, by the way. I am not firmly on one side or the other in regards to the ethics behind this. I am constantly reading about this and researching this and trying to figure out where my opinion lies. And I am not solely dedicated to preserving my career fishing. If I find evidence to the contrary of what I do, I will rethink what I do. Because conservation is my backbone. Conservation is the basis of my show. Fishing is just the most effective tool that I have found to present these animals on a conservation program to the public, especially the freshwater ones. Saltwater is a different story because you can film in freshwater much easier than you can in saltwater, much easier than you can in freshwater. But sharks routinely eat incredibly tough, spiky, spiny, dangerous animals all the time. Sharks eat lionfish. Sharks eat crabs. You ever grabbed a blue crab? Like, it will cut you to pieces. Not just pinching you, but just the shell will cut you to pieces. A lionfish, horrific, stinging tendrils. Sharks will eat these animals. They can eat fish with dorsal spines bigger and sharper than than a knife. Dorsal spines sticking up on fish like that. Sharks just chomp right through it. So fish can feel pain, but research currently points to the idea that while they feel pain, they don't process it psychologically the same way we do. And the best way to explain where the theory lies on this right now is that humans process pain in a very similar manner to how we process our emotions, whereas sharks and other fish process pain very similar to how they process alarm, which is not the same thing. So we get hurt and we can have trauma as a response. And a lot of animals are exactly the same way. However, the theory currently is that a lot of fish, when they process pain, especially in their mouth, because they're eating so many sharp, dangerous animals all the time, predator-prey relationships are an arms race. The way they process pain is this alarming enough that I should stop? Not, oh, woe is me, I can't believe this happened, oh my god, I'm so sad. So there is a difference. Obviously, more information that comes out on this needs to be read, needs to be considered. But at the moment, I think if you're using inline circle hooks that are not offset, so inline means basically if I turn the circle hook flat towards you like that, it doesn't curve off, right? Inline circle hooks are safer. They're not wide gapped. Wide gap circle hooks for alligator gar are necessary, but for most of the fish, including sharks, you don't need a wide gap because the smaller gap ensures the front hookup in the very corner of the mouth. I would recommend, in fact, if I ever use these, I'm going to crush the barb on them. Crushing the barb and using some kind of like cotton thread to secure the bait on it. That way, when you hook a fish, you can unhook the fish like immediately. It's all about what safety precautions you take. Let's see. Ahmed says, is Clear Creek still good? It's been years since I've been there, but I would imagine so. The last time I was there was a couple years ago, but I mean, unless there's been some kind of like devastating change to it, I would imagine it's still got good fish in it. Gary Englovich says, urban fishing looks cool. Seems the new way to go. It's definitely a way to go, yeah. Tournaments and poaching is doing harm to game fish, but big invasives are cool. Well, a couple of things about that. Tournament fishing and poaching absolutely doing enormous amounts of harm to all fish and wildlife. Game fish is a term that is arbitrarily assigned based entirely on what is and is not popular at the moment. There is no conservation value to what is and is not a game fish at all. None whatsoever. The term game fish is not based upon any type of conservation or scientific importance. It is based specifically and only on how much commercial success the state or local government may have on regulating the practice of fishing or hunting for that animal. That is the only consideration for what is and is not a game fish. So whether or not a game fish or a trash fish is affected by one thing or another, they're all equals when it comes to their importance to the environments you naturally find them in. The term game fish and the preference they get is unfounded. It's completely unfounded. There's no scientific value at all to those terms. So yes, you were correct that poaching and tournaments do affect all fish and game. But big invasives are cool. Yeah, big invasives are cool, but like what invasives are you talking about? Because the biggest fish I catch in the bayous are alligator gar, and those are native. Carp they were considered invasive. The term that they're using now is naturalized or introduced, meaning that they're not originally from here, but they don't do any harm. But if you're talking about alligator gar, just remember alligator gar are native to Texas and the southern U.S. in general. Actually, they're native to like the central and northern U.S. as well. They've just been wiped out in that region. Let's see. AZ Gamer says, do you know anywhere that has a lot of buffalo in Pearland? That was me thinking. By the way, you have a good sense of look. You were right about me being being in high school. Yeah, well, I mean, I used to be a teacher, so it's not that hard. I used to spend a lot of time teaching kiddos your age. But let's see, anywhere in Pearland that has a lot of buffalo. It's been a long time since I fished in Pearland. I'm trying to think. I do believe Oyster Creek runs through. Does it? Does Oyster Creek run through part of Pearland? I think it might. Either Oyster Creek or a shoot off of Oyster Creek runs through Pearland. I would try that because Oyster Creek, top to bottom, from like upper Houston area or the mid Houston area where it is, all the way down to the coast, has just phenomenal fishing for buffalo. Robbie Cornett says, who do I think will win the Ryan Garcia fight? That already happened. So Ryan Garcia. I shouldn't have said that. Damn it. I should have been like, I think Ryan Garcia will win. If I had to guess, probably knock Devin Haney down a couple of times. Probably in this round. Definitely in this round. Like, I should have done that. But no, that fight already happened. If that's what you're referring to, and Ryan Garcia won, despite the fact that he admitted he's like a raging alcoholic. This goes to show you how far athleticism will take you. Jake Greener says, come fish the AZ, I'm assuming Arizona canals. I want to. I do want to. That's just a long trip. But I do want to do that. Jesse says, they have proved catch and release is real. We know it's real. And fish are tagged up north here. And brook trout are fragile and they end up growing a bigger and stronger. You cannot use barbs to reduce hurting them. I think what you're meaning to say is catch and release does have positive impacts on fish survival rates, and the fish are caught and released over and over as they grow, because catch and release methods, when done correctly, like crushing barbs down on hooks, does have a positive impact on the fish. Yes, that is correct. Robbie, if you guys don't follow Reeling with Robbie, you should. You're wasting your time by not following him. Like, follow him. He does a very similar style of fishing with alligator gar to me over in New Orleans. And he recently re-caught an alligator gar he caught in the past that he tagged. That's how he knows it's the same fish. He actually has the tag number. So yeah, catch and release when done properly, 100% works. Don't let anyone tell you different. People who say it doesn't work are just trying to justify the fact that they don't do it. Gary says, do you think invasive carp, silver bighead, etc. will get a commercial status and will get in control from sport and commercial fishing? No. Commercial, well, the word commercial fishing, what do you mean? Sport, you just specified, I'm sorry, sport and commercial fishing. Sport fishing, no. Sport fishing has no chance of curving the growth rate of those fish. Never going to happen. Commercial fishing, people are weird. People are weird. There was a time in the past where you could change the name of a fish, like on your plate, and that would change people's willingness to eat it. Like the Chilean sea bass, this highly regarded food fish that people love to eat in fancy restaurants, is not from Chile, and it is not a bass. It's neither of those things. It is this really, for all intents and purposes, ugly looking fish that is not a bass that nobody wanted to eat. And then they did a marketing rebrand of the name to call it Chilean sea bass. And people were like, ooh, that sounds good. I want to eat it. And now it's this very popular food fish. The problem is that happened before the rapid rise of the internet. Even in Jurassic Park, they have a line about eating Chilean sea bass. The Jurassic Park came out in 1993, I think. So yeah, before the internet, that was much easier. People now have the ability to look things up immediately and realize that, like, oh no, this is not some kind of fancy fish. It's this ugly carp I don't like. I don't want to eat this. So doing those kind of rebrands are harder. I honestly don't think it'll be commercial fishing or sport fishing that will ever affect the growth rate of those carp. I think it will be some really, really interesting, probably genetic invention or adjustment that is made that will curb the growth rate of those fish. Similar to what they are trying to do with mosquitoes in the South. All right, Blaine McDonald says, can alligator gar be found in Alabama? Googleable, I like that. Googleable info seems very scarce. Yeah, absolutely they can. I don't know, like, if the information you're looking for, you just haven't found it yet, or if it's out there. If it's not out there, that might mean they're not fished for very hard. I don't know. But Alabama absolutely has massive alligator gar. Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. Those states will all have alligator gar upwards to 8 feet in length, if you look in the right spots. Mystery Outdoors. Is it a problem to be reeling my big leader through the rod eyes? Yes. Yeah, it is. Don't reel your leader through your rod eyes. You will break your rod. Especially if it has a ceramic insert, that'll get busted out. And if it doesn't have a ceramic insert, like, I don't have a good example right here, but if it has like the kind of like steel ring catfish style, or even like the more expensive, like more modern, like Japanese surf casting style, where it's like this really beautiful, like rounded steel. Either way, you could put nicks in it. You could bust out the ceramic. Do not do that. You will regret it later. So yeah, don't reel your leader through your rod. The Real Deal says, sup Ty? I'm not Ty. Robbie Cornett says, I thought I would get you. I don't remember the last thing you said. Trying to find it. Oh, about the Ryan Garcia fight. Yeah. Let's see. Do a few more of these and we'll get out of here because it's getting late and I actually have some important filming stuff I need to do. Mr. Outdoor says, my buddy caught a 6'1" alligator gar in Oyster Creek down here in the town of Oyster Creek. Yeah, they get big in there, man. Oyster Creek holds some good fish for sure. The Real Deal says, what are some of the key features you look for to catch big catfish and alligator gar in a river or a bayou system? I think I put all of that in the How to Catch an Alligator Gar video about the type of features I'm looking for. Oh, you're okay. So go watch that video because I explain it all there. Phased. In my local lake, I know about a quarter of the big fish by name. I even know some of the river fish by name. Fish in the same places long enough. CPR is the way to go. Yeah, you'll encounter the same fish. Absolutely. If you're not tagging them, a lot of fish have a very clear pattern. You take good photographs and compare the photographs, and the pattern will reappear. Taking good care of your fish and releasing them quickly, so important. And yeah, you can recapture the same fish for years and years and years. Fishing with Irving. Can you recommend a casting reel that can hold a lot of line for alligator gar under $170? For under 170, I think, hang on. I'm trying to see if a certain reel is under that price. Define a lot of line. That's the thing. Let's see how much this one is. Oh, no, that's more expensive. I was going to say the Shimano Dakota 600, but that's like $240. The PC Fun, God, what is that one called? Sailus X is a decent reel that's fairly cheap. I think you can get that for about $100. That holds a decent amount of line, like maybe 300-ish yards of 80-pound braid, 250 of 100-pound braid. The drag is a little weak in comparison to some other reels. Obviously, I mean, they work. I caught the giant one on one of those, but if you watch that video, you can see me jamming my thumb into the spool to try to supplement the weak drag. They claim it has 20 pounds of drag. It most certainly does not. But the reel works. You just got to be aware of the challenges with the drag. So that's a good one. Has a really fast rate of retrieve, good level wind system. Yeah, that one will work. Tips for alligator gar. This is from Miles. Tips for alligator gar. Watch my how to catch an alligator gar video on YouTube. That holds a lot of information. That'll answer a lot of your questions. I got to do a more updated version of that video, but a lot of that stuff in there is still solid. Do you think, this is from Gary, do you think that the invasive fishes and native fishes will be able to balance each other out? Depends. Depends on the species. I think if you're talking about lionfish, no. Lionfish need to be actively removed, and there needs to be a strategy put in place on how to deal with them on a more effective level than just, catch and removal. If you're talking about snakehead, yes. Snakehead were... Hi, my dog is very upset. She can hear the bin man outside. The guy needs to get some WD-40 on the wheels of that cart. It's so loud. Yeah, snakehead have been determined by Florida's Fish and Game to not be nearly as destructive as they thought they were going to be. They kind of carved out a similar niche to bass, in fact. Carp, same thing here in Texas, common carp. Just carved out a bit of a niche alongside buffalo. They're not damaging anything like they thought they're going to. On the flip side, silver and bighead carp up north are wreaking havoc on the waterways up there, and they must be dealt with. That's a real problem. So it depends on the species and the zone that they are in. Big Cash McKay says, are gator gar very abundant in Arkansas? I'd say probably not very abundant. You might get a few moving up that direction, but not very many, if any at all. In fact, my geography is so bad. Hang on a second. Let me look at a map of the U.S. I might be thinking of the wrong zone. You probably get a few. Yeah, I mean, it borders Texas. Yeah, Texarkana. That makes sense. Should have thought of that. It borders Texas, borders Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Yeah, does the Mississippi River border Arkansas? If it does, that is your ticket. What river is that? And I'm looking here. Yeah, the Mississippi River borders Arkansas. So if you can go to one of the offshoots of the Mississippi River, you can find big gar. Yeah. I don't know how far inland they would go into your river systems, like the river systems that go up into like North Arkansas. But if you can make your way over to the Mississippi, you can find those fish. Ever catch a fish with a mutation like pigmentation or weird physical traits? I have. It's been so long, I've forgotten. I caught some alligator gar in a video with Alex where like his jaw was almost like crisscrossed. Like an old injury that healed. That's not a mutation. I'd have to think about if I ever caught one of the actual mutation. Eric Gillen says, who was the guy you possibly hooked the shark with? What channel was it? It was Alex Sosa from Buffalo Bayou Fishing Champs. He doesn't have a YouTube channel. I mean, he does, but like he doesn't upload to it because he's so busy with his guide service. But he's the guide that I've been working with for these guided trips. He's the alligator gar guide in the Houston area. There's no one else who does it like him, or as good as him. Everyone else is just an imitation. He's number one. So Alex Sosa, Buffalo Bayou Fishing Champs. Look it up. That's the guide service I've been doing my trips in cooperation with because he's a good friend and a great guide. So it was with him that happened. Okay. Gary checking out. I don't blame you. It's getting late. I'm going to do the same in a minute. Thanks for dropping in. Ahmed says, I really like the video where you saved the gar in the mud. Will I ever do that again? Well, it depends. I mean, that was a friend on social media was like, hey man, I know where this spot is where these fish need to be helped. Like, could do a video there helping those fish. And I looked it up and I was like, yeah, let's get after it. So it depends. Like, I hope I don't have to. Like, it's like I hope I don't see a bunch of fish in that circumstance. But if I do, I will help. Let's see. Butter Dog. Even though I am right-handed, I was taught to reel a spinning reel with my right hand. That's how they do it in Australia. I've been trying to switch to left hand, but I've always ended up switching back because I'm just used to it. Any tips? Don't pressure yourself to change. There's no good reason to change. All the guys I watch from Australian YouTube channels, Cavi, Briggsy, Brooksy, Dixon Brothers Fishing, like all those guys, Wildy, I can't remember the name of his channel, but all the guys in Australia, they all reel with their right hand, even if they're right-handed. That's just the way it's done over there. It is 100% as effective as the left-handed reel, and because most styles of reels allow for the transfer of the handle, I would not worry about it. I would say you do you. Robbie Cornett says, do you call it a rattle trap or a lipless crankbait? If I'm not thinking, I'll call it a rattle trap, just out of habit. Drex QD. We have a local restaurant that features lionfish as an entree when they can get it. Oh, send me a link to where that is, because I would love to try that. What size reel? This is from Miles. What size reel should I get for the Salus X? I think they have two sizes. So you only have two options. I just can't remember what they are. What sizes do you have? I'm pulling it up right now. Let's see. Oh my God, get out of my way. I hate their website. There's a 3,000 and a 5,000. I think it's the 3,000. I think the 5,000 is more of like a trolling reel for like fishing off the back end of a boat. Oh, dear God, their website is bad. Just want to find information about the specs on your reel, please. Anyway, get the 3,000. That's the one I use. The 5,000 is too big. Danny Chan says, what bait can I use to catch sharks? Well, find baits that are common in the area that you're going to be fishing in, but large horse mullet, when they're, in season, easy to catch. Chopped up jack, chopped up stingray. Cow-nose ray is a particular favorite of theirs in a lot of regions. Yeah, I would say it's hard to go wrong with those three. If you're fishing for black tips in the surf, like 5-foot black tips, whole whiting is really good. Let's see. Real Deal says, what do I think is the best lure for big alligator gar? Probably really big, like massively strong lipless crankbaits, or soft plastics that are like big paddle tails, like the really big paddle tails. And then I like to do what they do with pike fishing, basically. I will rig an extra treble on there so I can hook them through the mouth. Like a really big treble, I'll kind of hook it on there with an extra line going to the main line on a swivel, like they do with pike fishing in the UK. Brady Batch says, I like that the trash bin guy outside has become a recurring character in the live streams. Yeah, he has. Yeah, I just realized you're right. Let's see. Mama says the trash guy is stream snipping. Robbie Cornett says, see you, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Mama says, I'll respond to the email tonight, but I'll know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, just let me know. All right. Final words about these leaders, guys. Link in the description of this live stream to these modified circle hooks designed by me, made by Spencer from Terra Firma Tackle, designed specifically to catch giant alligator gar with the modified circle hook that I have made famous in the Texas fishing community. Everything about this is the way I like it. It is designed down to the last detail by me, and it will catch you absolute monsters. Uh, and I can back this up with the video proof because I've been there and I've done that and I've done it for years, and I've staked my ability to pay my rent and keep the lights on by doing this. So I put my literal money where my mouth is when I say that these rigs will absolutely work. Buy yourself a couple of these and watch the video I made on how to catch alligator guard to get the exact technique down on how to use it, because it's a little bit different than a normal circle hook. Check that out. The link is in the description of this live stream. I'll post it on the community channel on my YouTube page as well. All right. All right, guys, I'm going to check out of here. Check out Terra Firma Tackle for all your fishing needs. And I'm working on a video you guys are going to like. I will see you guys later.